It's time for the SPL yet again. Finch and Mifflin, we kind of been on the desk all day today, so I figured we'd just keep it that same way here as we move on into the SPL. And boy, do we have some good games lined up for you all today. That's why I'm so gassed. I'm just excited to see what matches that we get to start up here. It's eUnited up against a rival, and this is the part of the year now here that we're in week 6, where we get to see our first few rematches. So remember, eUnited beat Rival at the start of the year. It's their first chance for revenge. The Knights and Radiants get to play again later. And I'm going to let Mifflin finally talk since I've held it since we got here.
Oh no, what do I talk about? I guess I talk about the set we're about to watch, which is eUnited versus Rival. We're going to break it down just a little bit how it went in the first week. The first game, relatively low kills. They take it to late, but unfortunately, eUnited pull out ahead in the end. Rival gets off to a signature good start in the second game, but not good enough. eUnited again pop off, but this time off the backs of Hurriwind and Snoopy having fantastic high kill games with very low deaths. I think if Rival want to make an adjustment, it's completely focus on the early game this week and try and blow them out of the water. Make sure you get PBM on something like a Hercules or a Horus. Make sure you get aggressive picks out of the jungler. Maybe Sanford Soccer breaks out that Thanatos one more time and really cracks open eUnited.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it there in the standings. It is a clump right now here in the SPL. But like 3 up there at the top, and then the middle of the pack is all very close. We've never had this little variance before, I don't think, in terms of our standings where everyone is. And I think a big part of that is going to be this new look eUnited roster here with Genetics in, Eonic out. Can they continue to be that team that can threaten those top-end rosters? And Mifflin, I think so with the way that they've played. They played around this Horus. They played around stretching the map, even sometimes giving Hurriwind, Giannis to play to stretch the map too. Their clear new identity to me is a team that is objectives first, fighting maybe not even second, maybe third.
Fighting certainly the last thing on their minds. eUnited is the most conflicted verse team in the league. They're very happy to use Giannis to just move across the map. If you 5-man stack on eUnited, you better believe their first prerogative is getting out of dodge and getting to the nearest objective that the enemy team isn't at. Usually Fire Giant, usually Gold Fury. They also use it very well on Siege. They don't like taking fights on Phoenix line. Instead, they'll group up on one side, immediately ult to the other. And I think a lot of that is really due to this addition of Genetics. He brings a certain degree of shot calling that eUnited didn't have beforehand.
It is, and it's clear that they've got that sort of leadership there, right? Even when they're making calls that aren't part of that new identity, you could definitely still see that they're all moving as a unit, Mifflin. They're all moving cleanly together, decisively around the map, and that's critical. We said all the time, it's better to have everyone doing the wrong play instead of 2 or 3 people trying to do the right play. It feels like eUnited now have that cohesion. But you don't have to just hear it from me. We had a chance to sit down with Hurriwind, mid laner, to hear some of his thoughts about how the team is gelling now.
All right, we have Hurriwind, mid laner for eUnited joining us. Hurry, the schedule's restarting now. You're back to your week 1 matchup, which was against Team Rival. And this was a big matchup for you guys, where you guys got a win that I think started your season off with some good momentum. How important is it for you to repeat that result here today?
It's really important for us. I mean, we're 3-4 now, which is not stellar. So we are looking to get the second half of this phase done right. I suppose that's going to be really important for us, like morale-wise and just as a team.
Do you think it gives you guys an advantage as one of the few teams that's made a roster change so far, that teams won't have as much information on you guys as they would having played against the exact same roster before?
You know, I'm not sure, to be honest. I really think it's like up in the air, like it might not. I think we've got like more picks now that people are kind of like worried about. So I think picks and bans will be more likely to go our way. But outside of that, it's really hard to tell.
You guys have definitely gotten, it seems like a second wind with Genetics there, but it seems like you guys have really been reliant on using these global ultimates, whether it be Horus or Giannis, to move you guys around the map. Have you guys been trying to dedicate yourself to continuing those sort of weird strategies, or is it more of a focus on team fighting these days in practice to try and get the whole game kind of well-rounded?
Yeah, I think it's quite clear that that's the thing that we needed to work on the most, which is team fighting. So we've definitely spent a lot of time in the past like week or two focusing mostly on that. I think that if we can get that down, then we pretty much have all phases of the game down. I mean, it makes sense. We have a new player, so you kind of expect our team fighting to kind of like fall off a bit, playing against people who've been playing together, some of which for over a year. So I think we're starting to get that down, and once we have that down, we'll be able to do the other stuff and team fight, and that'll make us a really strong team.
Looking forward to some exciting late game team fights where you're setting your feet and standing your ground, or horizonting away. Good luck today, too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Love to hear that from Hurriwind. Not so much that they're only going to be doing this objective-based stuff, but maybe trying to play to their strengths in the short term until they feel like their team fight is on par with everyone else. That's why it's so important to get to hear from these guys, to get a little bit more light shed onto why we're seeing these play styles, where their opponents across the way here, Myth, in Rival, are going to make that adjustment to now being more team fight focused, if that's the plan. Really difficult. These guys play together. Maybe the only team that does it better is Sanguine. These guys are so good at constantly bouncing back and forth. PBM is active across the map from minute one. CaptainTwig is coming to his own here in the mid lane as well. What do you think it is that makes this Rival team so strong? What is that they do really well that you like?
I think it really was in the drafting phase. They picked up Sam for Soccer in the jungle world. This guy is consistently finding first bloods. He's consistently just fragging out in the middle lane. He's consistently rotating around the map. He's one of the few players that is very willing to camp out solo as well, help out his teammate there. fineokay, a fantastic player, putting him ahead, never a mistake. But Sam's been having a fantastic year, and it really was only in this first couple of weeks against eUnited that we've seen them struggle. And since then, I really think that Rivals decided that they can play through their jungler and really enable him.
I feel like oftentimes we see a little bit of fall off with our World's MVP, but not even a little bit of that happening here for Sam after the great year that he had last year, and then continuing that here for Rival. And I think to put it all at Sam's feet, a little glib, but obviously he's having a monster performance here right now, and really the entirety of this roster are. And what I think they've really done more than anything else is improve their game at multiple stages, whether it is PBM getting aggressive in the early game, or in the mid game it'll be Sam, or in the late game you can trust Twig and PandaCat to step up for this team as well. They're multifaceted, and I haven't even mentioned fineokay, perhaps just the best solo laner in the league, is on this roster here as well. But I did talk about CaptainTwig and the adjustment he's had to make in the middle lane. Probably be better to hear about that from him rather than me, so we sat down with CaptainTwig for the interview.
All right, we've got CaptainTwig, mid laner for Team Rival. Twig, it's the restart of the schedule. Everyone playing their week one matchups, and obviously I think that you guys have been looking forward to getting another crack at getting revenge against eUnited. How important is this set for you guys morale-wise?
Morale-wise, it's super important. I don't think we've ever beaten Snoopy as a team on Rival. We really just could use the win. I think us, Sanguine, and Radiance are tied right now, and we can't be dropping yet another set to eUnited. I do think we're slightly better than them as a team, and as long as we play well, I think we should get our revenge.
I mean, you look way more comfortable now in mid than you did at the beginning of the season. Obviously, you found your play style where jumping in is the priority the majority of the time. Is it hard to get the team to let you play Raijin every game where you can do damage with your jump in? Because I know they put you on Discordia on a leap that doesn't do any damage, and I was like, what's the point, you know?
Well, there are definitely moments after matches and scrims where Mike or someone else says, "Hey, listen, Ben, what was that dash about? You kind of just died." And well, there's those moments. I think they still have faith in the Raijin, but there's definitely a lot of talks about times where I probably shouldn't have dashed in.
You're getting in there, man. Nothing wrong with that. You know, you're getting it started, and it's paid off so far. You're near the top of the league in terms of player damage per game. How much more comfortable do you feel now in comparison to the beginning of the year? Do you feel like you're really starting to hit your stride?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even after a few weeks of scrims, like our first SPL game, I had no mid experience, well, at least from 6 years ago maybe, but like every match that I play, it's a slightly different game, maybe a bit slower, maybe a bit more organized than in scrims. And every match that I play, I feel like I could take something from that match and like learn and like adapt it to how my next match will go. And honestly, I can feel how much like I've got to go as a player, and I feel like I'm getting there slowly.
Hey man, it's always hard having to expand the brain in order to play mid lane. It's where the geniuses reside, and we're happy to have you among us now, CaptainTwig. Good luck today, man. Looking forward to it, and I hope you have a great set.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love that energy from aggro and having to agree with it. But mid lane is an adjustment. He's right, and it's a difficult role in its own right. And I think CaptainTwig has truly moved into that role and kind of made it his own now. I like that we're still getting some of the dashing in, but maybe a little bit more about when the right moment for that to happen is. So now, Mifflin, I would say the stage is set for us to start to get ready to move in here to these picks and or not picks and bans, but start moving into this set in particular, Miff, because this should be close. This should be a pretty good back and forth match. But I think I agree with Twig. I give a slight edge over to Rival.
I really do think Rival has come into their own. They've learned how to play against their teams and with their boys. But Aggro points out that Twig has some of the highest damage in the league, and that's really only due to one fact, and I think we all know it. He's got one extra ability that does damage over everyone else. His jump is used aggressively. Everyone else kind of repositions with theirs. You know, one extra ability is going to put you just a little bit over the top.
That might tip the scales a little bit, though, in Twig's favor. I'm also curious to see what gets particularly valued here in this match. I heard them talking a little bit back and forth about that Raijin in the interview, but I do think that there's a chance that could be a back and forth here in the set as well. Raijin really has moved up as one of those top pick mid laners now, especially in a world where Merlin gets taken off the table. Potentially that's someone you want to grab right away. Discordia right there with them, too. So that could be something that's back and forth. The jungler pool is another one, right? Are we going to see the Unbots, the Thor, the Camazotses make it all the way through? Well, some of these junglers have to go further down in the table, and you just can't afford to ban everything. So whatever slips through, you got to make sure your team has some kind of plan to deal with it.
eUnited not one to let anything slip through. We're going to immediately take away the Hercules from PBM, one of the premier Hercs in the league, and that's honestly in of itself a huge asset. Just having a support who's able to absorb an aggressive ban means that it's going to leave some of these gods available. Maybe it leaves Susano up for Sam. Maybe it makes sure that Raijin makes it through. Not this time, but it does still leave Merlin on the table. Discordia, they're fantastic picks available because you're forced to ban Hercules when you're playing against someone like PBM or Aurora. In return, Rival going to go ahead and take away Camazots, take away the Horus. I like what they're doing there. Taking away the Horus from genetics makes perfect sense to me. Maybe they even target out this Yanis in this phase of bans.
Perhaps to try and limit some of that extra map stretching or I was mentioning earlier, the objective type focus play that we know that eUnited are particularly known for here at this point. I don't know, it feels tough banning it, but also it feels tough trying to play up against it for eUnited. And since they're in this first pick spot, Miff, I think it is worth talking a little bit. There used to be a time when it felt like second pick kind of had the advantage. There was so much to ban that you could kind of take all of the leftovers, and there wasn't really that one pick that was so much more value over everything else. Do you feel like that's still the case, where maybe that first or second pick should be a little bit more valued?
If your boy ever won a coin toss in his life, we're going for second pick. There's no way that you can ban out all the top end. You got Yemoja on eUnited. What's still available? Plenty. There's Merlin on the board. You can go towards a Hunbots or a Thor, these high priority guys that you can build your entire draft around. Having second pick is almost always higher value in my opinion, but giving up second pick and taking Huyi in your top, maybe a little bit of a question mark there, as there's plenty of other higher priority hunters. Jingwei sees a lot of play. We see a lot of Hachiman going forward. Rival taking this Huyi means that we're going to see an aggressive lane, maybe something that can leverage that as well. Cerberus, that's a pretty spicy pick.
It is spicy, and it goes right to your question, right? I think there's a big discussion about value-based drafting, right? And should you be drafting more to camouflage what your team comp is, or should you be trying to get the most valuable thing that's currently available in terms of what you would be forced to go to next if you don't take it here? And I think this is a little bit more of maybe they want to secure their playstyle. I mean, Huyi and Cerberus, based on what I've seen, those picks are probably not going anywhere, Miff, right? You'll have plenty of time to come back and grab those guys later on. So I'm wondering if they're either having a new strat we haven't seen yet, or if they're trying to keep something kind of tucked away from eUnited and not give away what the draft is.
It's got to be concealing some sort of strategy. You know Cerberus isn't going to get banned away. Huyi's not going to get banned away. But it is an incredibly aggressive comp, and Cerberus has a decent matchup into this Yemoja, going to absorb some of that healing that you see. It's not really going to do much about that shielding, which I really think is Yemoja's largest asset. Picking up the Sobek now, that's a more higher priority pick, something you're used to seeing in the first three. A fantastic solo laner. He's going to be able to just sit in that lane on a solo island. Doesn't really need ganks. The only assistance he's going to need is from his jungler to pick up that blue buff, and from there, he's going to buckle down, wait for level 20, and then act as the real initiator for the rival side.
And it is worth talking a bit. I mean, you brought up that anti-heal and how it's not necessarily going to stop the shielding part of it, but it is going to mitigate some of that healing that is still pretty strong. And we are talking all the time about we want to see them build more anti-heal and get that stuff into the kill a little bit more often. Well, they've drafted forward with the Sobek and the Cerberus with some tools that can mitigate that some. That value obviously there, but again, you just don't necessarily have to get the Cerberus right away. And then the question becomes, I got to assume there's going to be Cerberus in the support. So where else do they go for maybe more reliable CC in this draft that's not just based around those ultimates? Sobek does a lot of that, but I wonder if a CC-heavy jungler might be in the works for Rival as well.
My eyes are constantly on Susano for the CC here now, but especially just because it's Sam for soccer on the Susano. He's so able to move around the map, set up kills in mid. He's one of the earliest gankers you'll see rotate into the duo lane. He's almost always there at level 2, and against Chernobog, that's going to be a very juicy gank potential target, as is Yemoja. I think it's worth pointing out that Sobek could be flexed into that support role, Cerberus a little bit more aggressive in that Guardian role in solo, but Susano being hovered, I really do like this pickup, and it's going to put the pressure on the Discordia as well.
Yeah, it feels like Susano's your day one. You've been mentioning this guy since before we even got to the picks and bans. Hovered here, but not locked in. Instead, it's this late-game Kali that we saw banned a lot actually in the SCC earlier today up against Johnny in place of a lot of really good picks like the Kamazots that were still coming through. So in that case, I don't know if I loved it, but here for Rival, I think it could work. Clearly, they want to get to that late-game team-fighting stage where whoever's in the solo lane has time to rotate over and impact their fights. And by that point, Kali should be ready to go.
And she's got 2 tanky targets inside of Cerberus and Sobek who are going to be able to absorb some of the aggression by frontlining. Then, late game, Kali's going to turn into an absolute chainsaw, able to walk down Yemoja very easily. Discordia's only got a very short range jump. She gets stunned out by Kali. She's going to get blown up in 3 or 4 auto attacks, which are going to come out in less than a second with the attack speed build that we're seeing. Chernobog getting picked up, I think, is worth mentioning. That global pressure is going to be very nice, but it's not going to be the best for survivability. You're always going to have to land either back in place or on an enemy. If you use it to escape, you're going somewhere you really don't want to be, or you're just buying time for a rotation. Naja has fantastic synergy with him, however. Set up that big explosion from Chernobog with a 2-1 combo. Naja is going to have him in the air with Windfire Wheels. There's a lot of synergy inside of their comp. I'm worried about eUnited's engage potential. Is it really going to be all on Achilles, or are you really only waiting for this Naja to find the ult?
And even when he does, there could be a Kraken waiting for him when he lands. That Poseidon just came in. It's time for game 1, though. eUnited and Rival, the rematch. Let's kick it off.
Always appreciate it, Finch and Mifflin. Dolson and Aggro calling eUnited versus Rival. We have entered the rematch phase here in the SPL. Aggro, each team now going up against an opponent they've already faced up to this point. And it's, I think, tough to say eUnited are in 7th place because at the end of the day, they're 2 wins behind the first place team. But you kind of heard it there from Hurriwind. You were able to talk to him, a team that's looking to tighten up some of that team fighting and maybe lean on their objective control a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what eUnited needs right now, because clearly they have shown that they are more than able to be creative and pick various compositions. As long as there's that global pressure, whether it be through the Horus or the Giannis, this team has really showed how creative they can be. But now they need to be able to actually win a straight-up, honest 5-on-5 team fight later on in the game. And that is the thing that takes the longest to kind of get ready with a new player, especially one as critical as support. So the fact that they haven't done it yet, would you like to see that by now? Probably. But the fact that they haven't isn't too big of a deal, because that's usually one of the last things that you kind of get in order whenever you've picked up a new member of the team.
Well, the first time these 2 teams played, Snoopy and Hurriwind both had a couple back-to-back really nice games. A lot of that will be born out of the long lane here. Genetics piloting that Yemoja. Worth mentioning, though, we are playing on a patch where her passive scaled back a little bit, 6 and 14 instead of 4 and 12 on getting the additional Omi, and her damage on her 1 a little bit knocked down there. But already you still see the impact. I mean, the changes are maybe helpful in making her less oppressive, but it's still going to be so difficult to find pressure against the Yemoja in this lane.
It's still bringing a lot of base damage. She still has no cooldown. Usually when you've got no cooldown, you get to do a whole lot of spamming. That's exactly what Yemoja does. And she still brings that sustain. So you'd still expect Yemoja to be that lane bully, but now she won't be able to solo you quite as easily in the 1v1s, in the
right.
little bit of surprise ganks that she can throw your way all by herself.
getting delayed on that next Omi pickup as well is very, very big for her, because every other ability besides the one costs 3 Omi to cast. And when you get into the later game, it's really Mending Waters and Riptide that end up carrying team fights more than a pretty unreliable stun that she's going to be throwing out. So I think that this nerf really hurts her more in the mid game, when she's going to be rotating in and trying to find these skirmishes around Gold Furies, around mid lane, Pyromancers, things of that nature. I think that's to watch out, where you want to watch out for how this nerf is really affecting her.
Well, PBM and PandaCat, at least right off the bat into this lane, would have agreed with you, but no problem locking down that second purple buff of the game. That's normally where we see this lane start to kind of shift out of control, at least in some of the SEC matches this week. So much overwhelming pressure that you can't even really step out of your tower line. One thing I think they highlighted on the desk very well is some of the late game presence that Team Rival has. You look at this Kali late game chainsaw, fineokay on the Sobek as well. Such a nuisance as time goes on in this game. Some changes as well though to Sobek. Passive, a little bit of different scaling on that one, different protections there for him, but still a god I think fineokay will have a massive impact on these late game fights.
And that nerf is very heavily directed towards early game. And what Variety has here in the Achilles is better early game than Sobek for sure, but not really the guy who's going to insta-kill you pre-5. Once you hit level 5, you can be in a bit of danger because of Fatal Strike, but for the most part, fineokay is going to bring exactly what he did before, which is, on the Sobek pick, insane late game initiation, good damage on the backliners. It's really displacement and really, really hard to kill, because you use your mobility, you use your knockback, then you become CC immune for a long time, you slow everyone around you, and then by the time you pop back up, you've got your cooldowns back because you've been lurking under the water for so long, and that's what makes Sobek really, really hard to deal with. Hurriwind's on a character in Discordia that doesn't get away from Sobek particularly well. A well-timed erratic behavior will get you out of that lurking in the water's detonate damage, but that's pretty hard to time.
Scream has found himself level 5 and looked for a gank mid lane against CaptainTwig. And while fruitless kill-wise, is going to get the reactionary beads out of Twig there. So you look at the potential for return ganks, and all it took, aggro, was one sash being thrown out there. Didn't even connect from Scream, and now Twig's got to be so much more careful for these return ganks to maybe give eUnited an edge early on in this game.
That is going to be huge, is how well can Sam match the pressure from Scream, but really keep his farm up, because you're looking to scale with Kali into the late game. I mean, everyone who's played a little bit of Smite has had some Kali 35 minutes into the game just completely decimate your entire team, and you go, where's my interaction point? Like, what am I supposed to do? Well, it's before you get to that point is where you have to interact. But Kali's really not that bad in the early game either. She's not really a great fighter, but her clear is good enough that you're going to be able to clear fairly effectively. Sam is not going hold that thought as CaptainTwig in trouble in mid.
Chopped out the Kraken, Windfire Wheels connect, and Scream will drop down CaptainTwig for first blood. Genetics is here as well. In the waters, crash down onto Cerberus. PBM down for the second kill of this game, but eUnited looking for a little bit more. Sam was right in range of that red buff, but will leap himself out to safety. A great 3-man rotation to the mid lane, and eUnited pick up a couple.
And this is how you start to set this Kali behind, as you get Scream a little bit ahead and you start invading on Rival's jungle. And what I was about to say was that Sam is not going for the Crusher second item, which is usually such a great bridge for Kali. It turns her subpar early game into a pretty acceptable one the majority of the time. This little build going forward, the Light Blade, he could be rushing into an Executioner or a Chin Size. I believe I saw Adapting try and rush the Chin Size on stream the other day. Maybe Sam liked that build. But that does mean that he's more vulnerable and less strong early on. So what does Scream do? We're putting pressure on the part of the map that we can most easily transition into multiple different invades, and that's mid lane. He goes in and gets beads a little bit earlier on, then finds another sash onto CaptainTwig. Twig actually makes a very intelligent...
Apologies, everyone. We'll jump back into game here. And if you didn't hear me the first time, only two things are certain usually when aggro and I are casting, and it's ridiculous objective steals and our mere presence breaking something in the game. And now apparently I've learned that I can Caster's Curse ourselves. But we will jump back in right on the back of another great gank. Right back into that mid lane they go. and CaptainTwig takes a tumble for the second time in a row.
Chat, unfortunately, you guys missed another great from break pickup by Dolson. Let me tell you, just for one of the only people on the earth who heard it, it was 10 out of 10. Just like Scream's jukes were 10 out of 10. He wiggles past the lash, then the leap, and the ultimate there from Genetics, all on top. Those were some broken ankles. Sam for Soccer needed that little tech break in order to tape him up and get ready to go. And Scream's off to a great start, man. 1-0 and 2. The same for himself, Hurriwind, and Genetics all have that exact same scoreline. And it's also worth noting that Snoopy has ulted during 2 of these kills and gotten himself 2 assists. So that's going to boost him up. And in that worth charts, it puts him a little bit ahead in Devo stacks. It's important.
Right, he has to burn his ultimate, not to grab an assist, obviously, but to get himself out to safety. And that's such a difference, I think, a movement away from how we see these solo lanes normally break out. Kind of wet noodle fighting is the way we look at it. 2 tanky, gods kind of wailing on one another back and forth, sometimes requiring a gank like this to result in a kill. Variety will not have the disengage this time. CaptainTwig throws down the Kraken, but what a peel from Scream as 3 members from Rival are on the retreat, and it's one Naja that's making them think twice about taking this fight. That's a lie. Genetics and Hurriwind are here as well. PBM, he's down for the second time this game. CaptainTwig with 2 deaths, PBM with 2 deaths. United, they seem to have figured out some of these early game rotations.
Runic Shield, by the way. Pretty good item if you guys didn't know. That's exactly what just saved Variety's life in that little skirmish on the other side of the map, because he got absolutely comboed over there. That's why there's a nerf coming to that item, because of moments exactly like that. It was really, really well played overall by everybody on Rival. I mean, it was blink ult, into stun, into pluck, into a little bit of ghastly breath. That even prot shredded Variety, and he still didn't die to all of that damage. And then Scream's there right on time. Nice and patient with that ultimate. Gets Twig's beads again, so you can bet that you're going to see Scream coming for him sooner rather than later, because that's what they're doing all game long. And the setup of this Naja ult into Discordia ult is working really, really well. And I think that this is a really good use of the new Discordia ult. That buff it got to the movement speed now becomes far more reliable follow-up. Something like Naja ult from a safer distance. I've loved the way that they're playing this.
Well, the Guardian, or the Sports rather, will rotate back into the long lane here, but won't result in really all that much. I think most notable, though, from what we've seen aggro in the first 10 minutes of this game, is honestly PBM with 2 deaths. Not necessarily the deaths, but 4th in the league in assists, and hasn't been able to find much in the early game up to this point. Might even die again. Windfire wheels onto the Cerberus. That'll be half HP on PBM. He's stunned down. Hurriwind will gladly take that kill, but CaptainTwig does plenty of damage with that Kraken, so he'll return the favor. Blink forward from Sam, and that's a 3-man stun onto eUnited, who are going to have to use Genetics to disengage, and one more portal out. Snoopy and Genetics will thank him for that one. Good rotation from Sam. It's a 2-for-1, though, for Rival. They pull back a little of this lead.
That's exactly what Rival needs to do. If eUnited's going to dump everything into getting kills off of this Naja ult, you have to set up shop underneath that Windfire wheels and wait for Naja to drop down, and that's exactly what Rival did this time. Scream's going to focus out Mike. Fine by Mike. We're dumping a whole lot into the support. And that time, Hurriwind plays that fight a little bit differently. I don't think maybe he was a little bit just off on the cooldown of his ultimate, so he actually gets a little bit closer into melee range and then use that unruly magic in order to try and get that kill. He does, as Variety does not in the mid lane, and now he's going to be brought right back in, Runic Shield or not. No way Variety gets out of this one. That positioning by Hurriwind and Scream, far too grouped up underneath where Scream was coming down, and CaptainTwig made them pay with a really, really nice Kraken.
My caster's curse continues today, aggro. The moment I mentioned PBM having a bit of an off early game where he hasn't had these kind of great rotations resulting in big assists, I just got to give the man a moment to breathe so he can get some action going in this game. And now improves himself to 0-3-3, a couple assists in the last fight, and then a beautiful ultimate there to pull one back in. And that's, I think, the Mike that I'm expecting and maybe used to seeing, finding these rotations on this map, helping his team get involved, and a turnaround as well from CaptainTwig with now 2 kills on the board. You talk about an instant execute, Doomorb as well on top of all that. CaptainTwig seemingly off to the races.
And look, even though Mike's been punished early on today, it isn't too bad for him. I mean, he's only down about a level, half a level or so. Net worth, he's down about 300 gold. That's not a big deal for supports. I mean, it's going to mean that Genetics is going to get his itemization on a little bit sooner, and probably more likely a couple wards out sooner than PBM, but it's really not, you know, the huge power spike discrepancies that you see out of carry rolls the majority of the time. It's just that tankiness, but PBM's going to get a decent amount of that anyways just by leveling because of those Guardian base stats. So despite all the focus, I really don't feel like eUnited has really earned enough off of that. I mean, you look at what Scream's been doing, still the same level as Sam right now. He's up only 300 gold. Hurriwind actually down a level and some net worth because of those shutdown kills that CaptainTwig was able to get. Those are worth a lot right now in Smite. So you have to keep in mind that when you're getting ahead, whoever eventually kills you is going to absorb a lot of that lead from you. fineokay is up 2 levels. He's been bullying out Variety a lot of this game, invading blues. Variety gets punished on a rotation. Now he's down a level and a half to fineokay. I mean, as bad as this start looked for Rival, I think they're actually winning, quote unquote, right now. It's not a lot,
I
but
think it's fair.
If you have to pick one team who's winning right now, I think it's got to be Rival because of how well their composition scales.
Yeah, negligible gold differential and Rival at the XP lead. fineokay picking up the Relic Dagger, a little extra move speed, use that blink, TP, a little bit more off cooldown. So obviously the mindset where fineokay is going to try to run in, look for some of these engagements. Now, an early thought I had, and I mentioned it for CaptainTwig, do more first overall, now into the Pythags piece. Obviously haven't seen all that much Poseidon really in the mid lane. I think it's a good pickup here for CaptainTwig. Build-wise, though, is that a route you maybe expected to see him go with his first few items?
Yeah, I like it quite a bit, actually. I mean, you get basically everything you want. You get a lot of power coming from the Doom Orb and the purple boots. And the Doom Orb is also great because Poseidon is incredibly mana hungry, and Doom Orb has a lot of MP5. It also has movement speed, which is huge for Poseidon because he's already one of the fastest mages in the entire game. Movement speed just keeps getting better as you build it, it feels like. You kind of... The second movement speed item doesn't do a whole lot, but the third movement speed item makes you feel really, really fast. And Poseidon kind of gets a built-in movement speed item because of his passive, so we kind of pass that threshold of feeling like it's very impactful, which feels really good. And now you get a little bit of extra power, a little bit of extra utility out of the Pythags piece. This is going to help fineokay and PBM deal even more damage out of the support role in solo lane as Guardians, which is important. And it starts CaptainTwig off in the pen tree, which is important. But I will say that he's lacking flat pen, and that's a choice you have to make sometimes in the mid lane builds these days. Hurriwind's gone the exact opposite way. He's gone double flat pen build, and I also like this build quite a bit. When you feel like you're going to need that Divine Ruin, which I agree with the assessment here from Hurriwind that they need it, up against the Kali, and the Sobek even has a little bit of healing that can be a little bit annoying at times. This just makes you feel like you're dealing true damage to squishies, and you still hurt tanks.
This is a good Gold Fury call from Team Rival. So often the conversation around how does our objective secure look, you know, with a lot of the mages that are in meta right now, there tends to be more Burn, Merlin, Raijin. CaptainTwig, of course, with that crack in this game, should have control over some of the objective secure. Genetics has control over CaptainTwig right now, as the River's Rebuke will separate him from being able to disengage. PBM here to play Guardian underneath the Tier 1 tower, and his Poseidon will make it away safely. But it's that return right there to the mid lane. Genetics throws up the River's Rebuke. Hurriwind tosses out the apple. It's that engagement that eUnited have been looking for time and time again. Now PBM, that's a different engagement tool, but he does have the leap to get out safely. If nothing else, though, you've forced CaptainTwig to use the beads a few moments ago and made him go back to base one more time.
And as soon as Scream shows up, now he has the Erendite. He's doing a lot more damage at this point. It'll be pretty easy for him to find that kill with just a little bit of help from Hurriwind or Genetics. I don't even think he needs a true damage dealer in that instance. And check out what Twig has bought in this mid lane as a second relic. It's this upgraded shell. We've seen this a little bit, but we've also seen Variety in some trouble.
He has to back himself off. Scream is waiting in the wings. That's an ultimate from Variety to get out, but a nice pluck from fineokay will only find the edge of the Tier 1 tower. Windfire wheels onto Sam for Soccer. That might just be the execute. It sure is. And Scream will rotate into the tune of a kill. fineokay, though, he's caught out between 5 members of eUnited. And there's only water walls that way. fineokay will take a tumble. First time in this game, and the United pull back a couple. Talk about a 17-minute FG call with PBM lurking in the wings, potentially in range to steal this one away. CaptainTwig is as well, has the Kraken available just off the FG. But has he done enough damage? No. Snoopy will shut down the Poseidon. PBM in there, burning away. Down onto Hurriwind, who has to use the Aegis, pulls him back. But it's now a disengage from the FG aggro with PandaCat and Variety doing battle on the other side of the map.
Oh, United pick it back up, though, and these damage dealers have to be careful. They're getting low, but the Fire Giant gets lower. eUnited secure the less than 18-minute Fire Giant, and they kill PBM on the back end. And you want to talk about value out of a healer, there is no chance ever that eUnited gets to do that with genetics there, and without genetics there, I mean, without that Yemoja. And that's why, even though it looks a little bit odd, that's exactly where CaptainTwig goes with that Kraken. He tries to eliminate genetics from the team fight, which would have taken all of the healing out of eUnited's composition, but genetics has picked up Bede's Aegis as his relic, so no shells on all of eUnited. They've got 4 sets of Bede's Aegis. Scream even has an Aegis, no blink for him. So there is very little initiation here for eUnited, but it works out right there, and now you can kind of get to the point where you think, well, if we just get enough of a lead off of this FG, we won't need to worry about initiation because we can just run down anybody on Rival. But that makes this Fire Giant very, very important, Dave, because eUnited has to get at least up to a 5K lead. I think if you're getting anything less than 5K, at minimum, you might have trouble as this game goes on, because they're using their global pressure really well right now. True. Snoopy's Turnabog ult to the right side was critical in turning that team fight, but I think as Rival continues to scale and you see eUnited's lack of initiation, they could start to struggle, so they've got to make the best out of this FG.
Tier 1 mid down, Tier 1 long lane down, and now it's Tier 2 in the long lane that was being eyed by eUnited. Still 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on this FG buff. Agra, I'm used to 19 and a half minutes in. Maybe we're just eyeing the Fire Giant for the first time. Usually Gold Fury, you know, maybe something else has been taken down in the meantime, but not this game. eUnited have found advantages in that short lane time and time again, and now we'll look to push that underneath this Tier 1 tower. Sam4 Soccer may have different thoughts as he's lurking on the right-hand side of this fight with fineokay lurking on the left-hand side. He is not spotted out by a ward, but Scream is looking for a similar engagement to Sam. Where will the rotation come from? Sam now starting to move right back into his team, but underneath the Tier 2 tower, there's a small fight. It's fineokay inside of the River's Rebuke, and the Kali is finally joined. One bit of shielding pop there for eUnited on the disengage, but Variety wants back in, has the execute. Can he land it? Not when Sam4 Soccer will pop the ultimate. The blades go swirling, but watch out, the rest of eUnited is barreling down the middle lane.
Man, they're going to try and commit to this, but PandaCat has the Sunbreaker. That's going to force them off this wave. I feel like that's a bit of an ambitious call by eUnited to try and go Phoenix in that moment, especially when there's still so many towers up. Oni Fury's about to spawn. I would have preferred to see them transition over, grab the Tier 2 and left, and then get this Oni Fury. But as it stands, they try their hand, they get an ultimate. This is going to guarantee that Oni Fury goes their way without any sort of contest. I can't imagine Rival's going to step up without ultimates for either Sam or PandaCat. And we hit the 5K differential.
Right.
You see the power play graphic in the top left. 3,500 extra gold during this power play. That's big for eUnited, but is it big enough?
38 seconds will still be a determining factor here with the FG buff on. 21 minutes into this game, worth adding. Feels like we've reached the late game stages already. And we might have maybe map objective-wise, right? eUnited take down the FG. 2 exposed Phoenixes 22 minutes into this game. Still Tier 2 towers in the short lane. But as far as God scaling-wise, if you're looking at Team Rival, we still haven't reached that point. Of course, that's where your 5K, gold remark comes from. As Sam is 1-1, United do have that 5K lead. fineokay will get more difficult to deal with. Sam4 Soccer will get more difficult to deal with. But maybe the question now is, can Rival stall out with 2 open Phoenixes and maybe a long road ahead?
It's really just if eUnited can pull Rival into their terms of engagement, because the initiation factor for Rival is so much better. It's not like eUnited's comp scales poorly into the late game. I think they scale fine. It's just that Rival scales pretty well, and they've itemized very differently in terms of their relics. The reason that Twig doesn't go Aegis and go Shell instead is to free up PBM to buy Blink and Unk this game. It's not that Twig doesn't want Aegis, it's that the team needs a Shell in his estimation. And so now eUnited, you look at what they have, they don't have Shell, they don't have Unk, they don't have Blink, they don't have anything in order to get involved in this fight except a Yemoja Riptide on a frontliner to pull them back in, Genetics finding a wall naturally, or Scream getting in there alongside Variety's lone Blink on their side. So that's going to be the real tension of this game, is will Rival initiate for eUnited on terms that eUnited can then turn around and try and get going. I think it does make some sense for eUnited. I'm not trying to make it sound like they're making a mistake by not having any initiation or Shell or anything like that, because Genetics, every time he presses 2, that's a Shell, right? That ability is insane. So maybe you feel like you can get away with it without one in this instance, but it's got to be something that eUnited and Rival have to be wary of.
Oh, and that's something they brought up on the desk as well. It's been a lot of Scream jumping in, Windfire Wheels who can it connect onto, obviously the rotations to CaptainTwig on the back of those beads being burnt. So moving forward in these team fights, eUnited might have to get creative with the picks that they end up finding. Now, we've already seen an 18-minute Fire Giant. Granted, it was on a solo lane gank from eUnited, where they were able to open up the door a little bit, turn around, and immediately take down the FG. Great placement, though, or great eye, rather, by Doug. Rival has this side of the map well warded. They know that eUnited are here. The Fire Giant is started up. It's PBM who's knocked up into the sky by Scream. That won't execute the Cerberus, but the River's Rebuke awaits on the other side. Sam for Soccer has found his way into the back line, and Hurriwind is worse off for it. Deleted is the Discordia. Genetics has to pop the Aegis to try to make his way out of this one. Variety so low, and PandaCat will take advantage. That's a double kill now for the team Rival. Hunter, Snoopy will try to dash through, but there's a knockup from fineokay. Triple kill from PandaCat. Genetics is right there. Who do they give it to? It's CaptainTwig, and it's a deicide 25 minutes in.
And this is kind of the other shoe to, we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it's hit the ground right now. And that's where eUnited get absolutely floored in a team fight, because the strategy that they were going with early on, we're going to Naja ult the tank, and we're going to blow them up as soon as they hit the ground, doesn't work whenever Rival is all 5 here and strong. A couple things go wrong there for eUnited. I think the target selection for Scream wasn't great. I think you need to be trying to save that for Sam for Soccer at this point in the game, because we see what kind of damage he can do now that he has all this itemization online. Snoopy gets knocked up by Fire Giant. That makes him take a decent amount of damage and forces him to play a more passive role throughout that team fight. You notice that he's the last one alive, full HP for eUnited, but maybe if he's a little bit healthier at the beginning of that engagement, he can actually sink his teeth in to the team fight a little bit better. And Hurriwind has to use the Aegis at a time where he doesn't want to, because both Twig and fineokay are overlapping their ultimates, but at different times. So if he doesn't Aegis one, he dies. If he doesn't Aegis the other, he dies. So Hurriwind is kind of up a creek in that moment with no paddle. It's just really, really good team fight awareness by Rival. As soon as they hear that Naja ultimate go off, there's no hesitation, there's no fear. They gas pedal straight into the back line, and that makes it very hard for eUnited to actually follow up on what Scream is doing.
Yeah, it's an interesting target as well on a PBM. I mean, the ultimate maybe set up the opening, but the moment PBM lands, and then Genetics toss up the River's Rebuke as well. So lots burnt on trying to get rid of PBM, unable to do so, but Primal Fury now is open. Right back to the equity. Remember, like 5 minutes ago, we're talking about how eUnited have a 5K gold lead, and that stands no longer. We're about dead even, might even tilt towards Rival once the Primal Fury is taken away, and it sure does, to the tune about 1,000 gold. This is like the weirdest late game map state, but 26 minutes into the game, we're about to have 4 open Phoenixes. One still closed off for Rival, one still closed off for eUnited, potentially after this Tier 2 tower goes down. We are 27 minutes into this game. We're already talking about Phoenix defense. And it's going to be interesting to watch how eUnited are going to be able to hold themselves along this long lane Phoenix.
I wonder if eUnited is going to try and push this Phoenix when Snoopy was still on the right-hand side. Snoopy does end up backing. A little surprised he doesn't just stay and get that Tier 2, especially because his ultimate was up, and he was already full build. Maybe he actually needed some extra gold to finish that last item, but felt like he could have just ulted in to that team fight had it started and gotten eUnited a little bit more gold and a squishier Titan on the other side, because with the way this game has gone, someone's getting decided here, right? No one is limping away with some wounded on both sides. This
We've
is
already had
bloodbath one way or the other.
We've had one near the FG that opened things up for Rival. Snoopy, though, just caught my eye. Deathbringer to round out some of that crit. Sometimes it's Wind Demon, but there are a couple Spectral Armors for Rival. Tried to shrug some of that off. It's a 3-2 split here. fineokay makes his way over to the middle lane with Sam for Soccer in tow. PandaCat, PBM, CaptainTwig over on the left side. Maybe defender's advantage. Easy to kind of bounce yourselves back and forth between your two Phoenixes. It's a bit tough, though. I mean, would you rather see a more spearheaded approach, or is Rival playing this right, splitting up 3 for 2?
I think this is fine for Rival, but Hurriwind just needs to be careful that he doesn't get blinked on in this little area. This is where you want to hang out as the mage in your nook, but you can't really afford to do so if they're going to blink on you all the time.
Well, it's both of the supports that get engaged upon, and fineokay is just able to walk his way out of that River's Rebuke. Sunbreaker, though, also used by PandaCat. But as far as raw teamfighting ultimates go, Genetics will be sad that he doesn't have that to maybe turn around a fight that starts with an engagement onto PBM, who also uses the Cerberus ult in the backline. Scream will dash forward, and CaptainTwig is deleted, but you cannot forget about Sam for Soccer. Maybe you can if he has to jump his way out. fineokay, CaptainTwig, both down, 5 members strong for eUnited, and they're on the chase.
And I love that target selection from Hurriwind. If he's going to have Shell for his team, he can't Aegis your ultimate. PandaCat has his Aegis, but it's all over for him. I mean, no way he gets out when his jump is already down. And that's a clean 3-0 there for eUnited. In that time, that engagement for Rival just doesn't get started by Scream drawing everyone's attention with that ultimate. Scream's a little bit more patient on this engagement. The front line from Rival blinks in. They tried to take Snoopy out of the fight, but Snoopy had a really, really good dash into the Phoenix, which does count as a wall for Chernobog, so he actually gets out of range of fineokay's pluck and then right back out to start dealing that damage.
It'll be middle lane Phoenix now for eUnited with the soon-to-be 2-man advantage after the respawns from Rival will come out. PandaCat just lagging behind by 15 or so seconds. FG, right back up. We've already seen 2 30 minutes into this game, so maybe why not a third? A couple members of eUnited might have to go back and fineokay. He's teleported in behind eUnited. Where does the engagement come from? Finds the block, but Hurriwind is able to beads that one away. Do Rival want to continue going forward? Yes, but Genetics will try to block off some of that re-entry. Sam for Soccer's leaped his way in. The apple connects onto a couple members of Rival, mainly fineokay, who's forced to back away. Quick thoughts there from Rival to try to maybe catch eUnited unawares. The Relic Dagger will keep that teleport a little bit quicker on the cooldown. So neither team really worse for wear on the end.
But you get Hurriwind's beads. That's a big deal for this next team fight, because now he's very, very vulnerable to another initiation from either fineokay or PBM. Mike has his blink coming up in about 15 seconds. So that window is going to be wide open for them to try and punish. Really, really smart play there from fineokay, and just good play from Genetics. I think keeps that fight from going really poorly from eUnited. A really good River's Rebuke just to make sure that fineokay is getting no easy help coming from the chasing members of Rival. And we've just really seen the power of Yemoja this game, and I think that a lot of the casual viewers might be thinking, oh, well, she's not dealing 1 million damage to everybody and chain stunning people, but she doesn't, at a high level, the chain stun is really not what should scare you. It's really the ability to just move her team around the map. Riptide is one of the best abilities in Smite, and I don't think it gets enough credit for how strong it is. And that Mending Waters is also absolutely huge for Genetics. So I think that this is the right idea for him, is to just be this supporter and move everyone around the map.
Uh-oh, Snoopy, I don't think he knew that Sam for Soccer and fineokay were around the side. Will be able to get off his ultimate in time, but you gotta go back down to one member of Team Rival. It'll be PBM that he leaps to, but PandaCat will drop the ultimate and get the kill nonetheless. Smart, sneaky play there from Rival to get a pick on the eUnited Hunter.
Man, but Snoopy doesn't use his relics there. I mean, he's got to use them at some point. You got to beat that pluck, and then that Riptide from Genetics actually hurt him.
Well, Scream is now the one who's being plucked backwards as fineokay has reached that point where he's tough to deal with. Scream will sash back in, but I think eUnited smartly do not want to re-engage on this 4v5. Fire Giant being poised around. Good pings on the map, actually, by the guys. Big wave in the long lane for eUnited, working its way into that left side Phoenix, and it's doing some damage. May actually end up going down here. A couple members of Team Rival going back. Looks like left side Phoenix is just forfeit. Can we win the rest of the fight elsewhere? Says Team Rival. Kraken connects, but it's Variety who's in the front. CaptainTwig will catch the apple, but PandaCat will catch Variety. Rivers Rebuke splits off this fight, but Sam4Soccer's in the back line, and he's found a stun. Hurriwind has to use the actives, but PBM, I'll gladly take the up and down, and Hurriwind takes a seat as well. 1 minute death timers on 2 members for eUnited.
Scream is going to be in a world of trouble here. Still has that ultimate, so he might be able to escape. He's going to try and hold on to it just in case, but knowing that that Whirlpool would cut the angle, wisely decides to use it. PandaCat is free to get that left side Phoenix on the back, even though it was close. And now with an Oni Fury, Rival's going to be pretty well set up to punish this next team fight, knowing that Aegis is down for Hurriwind and Beads are down for Genetics. But you still feel like that whole team fight is really just so good for Rival because Snoopy gets picked on that left-hand side. It forces eUnited into another disadvantageous position. And remember, they don't do the initiating with this composition. They require Rival to initiate onto them, but they need all 5 members to be here and strong for it to work, that they get initiated on and still win the fight. And you can't do that 4 on 5.
There's 2 Phoenixes with a sliver of health, but 3 Mag-Eyes cloaks for Rival to try to shrug off some damage. Fire Giant is up, Fire Giant is down. Team Rival has secured that one, and they'll look to move themselves in a little bit further. PBM pops the ultimate, and it's Genetics that's now pulled right back in. 4 members surrounding the eUnited support, and they will snag that kill. So now you look, 3 open Phoenixes in the base of eUnited, 2 open Phoenixes save 1 tier 2 tower for Team Rival, and the onslaught siege continues with whatever direction Rival choose to go.
And look at the Magi's that they have. I mean, what, this is 4 out of 5? No, 3 out of 5. It's fineokay, Sam4Soccer, and Twig all have Magi's, and that really is the last thing Naja players ever want to see. It's going to be hard to deal with.
Whoa, PandaCat, I blinked for a moment, and PandaCat was missing from the map, so Scream's still able to find that engagement. And that's a small advantage now for eUnited. Sam4Soccer will have to leap away, or rather looking for a re-engage onto Scream. CaptainTwig will delete him, but not before Hurriwind can turn around some of this fighting. Sam4Soccer desperately searching for the heal, but Hurriwind will shut him down, and he has a double now in this fight. PBM ever so low. Snoopy will dash through. It's between maybe a rock and a hard place now for the Cerberus, but a blink away, I think maybe just saves his life.
Left side Phoenix goes down. Those Oni waves absolutely terrorize eUnited's base. They get the left side Phoenix. They almost get the right side Phoenix. With 3 members dead, PandaCat for only 20 seconds. Low mana for Genetics and Snoopy, though Genetics, of course, no mana. Just Oni. I don't know. I don't think that they can really end here. I think that they're just trying to trade out and get a Phoenix of their own.
Well, Titan, of course, will not die, but will be knocked down a few pegs. Might make it easier for Rival to end with a defense here. Obviously, the calculation's high in these moments. eUnited maybe don't want to roll those dice just yet. Let's take this mid lane Phoenix. Let's get out. Right side Phoenix taken low, but a wave just respawned now for eUnited to kind of keep this wave maybe pushing up against Rival. Titan pulled down. Half HP. You can't scoff at that damage.
Yeah, he TP'd right. He was thinking about backdooring that right side Phoenix, but he doesn't have a wave and he doesn't have EFG. And without both of those things, I think it's wise for fineokay to not try and go for that, because if he gets picked trying to go for that right side Phoenix, then that sets this whole Fire Giant fight behind for Team Rival. It really buys eUnited a lot of time to set their feet and defend their base pretty effectively, because right now, as it stands, eUnited has to be so concerned about a quick backdoor from Rival on that right-hand side. I mean, their Titan is half HP. They really cannot afford to have another wave of fire minions putting pressure on their base.
Yeah, that's the power of the Oni minions. It's not going to kill your Titan, but it'll sure put you within striking distance of a quick backdoor from the enemy team. Pyromancer, in the meantime, taken down by Team Rival. Looks like 2 minutes left on the 1 minute rather, left on the FG buff, and then 1 minute following that until the respawn. Short lane Phoenix, very low here for Team Rival. Should that be the direction that they aim to go? I don't know. I don't even know if you call it Phoenix defense up to this point. It's just been these waves. The lane pressure has just been enough to kind of keep eUnited on the back foot. Now the same could be said maybe for this short lane. It's going to be a miracle if eUnited are able to save it.
I mean, it's just, I mean, what? Well, it's about half HP now, so you're thinking, you know, 6-7 autos from PandaCat, but with that shell there from CaptainTwig in the backline and how good at initiating this front line is for Rival, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to try and snag this. Plus, both Twig and PBM still have that Fire Giant around their waist, so it's not like they're completely out of that FG, at least for the next 10 seconds.
3 Magai's Cloaks, 2 Spectral Armors. Magai's Cloak burned off a fineokay there. I think just got dropped down a little bit of damage from Genetic. So it looks like won't be much of a Phoenix Siege here for Team Rival. There are some fire minions pushing in to that left lane. But let's regroup around this FG. Rival has had 2 of them. eUnited has had 1 of them. And you talk now, you rewind that clock. It looks like eUnited are maybe knocking on the door of having multiple Phoenix down in the Rival base. What, 15 minutes ago? And Rival were able to slow things down, get themselves online. And at this point, aggro, it seems to be anyone's game, barring a catastrophic engagement.
Feels like, though, I mean, Rival has not had as clean a team fight as you would expect. I mean, you think about that Phoenix Siege, they aren't able to really grab it there. Every fight that eUnited's had where Scream, late game I'm talking about, every 5-on-5 that eUnited's had where Scream doesn't ult a tank, they've won. Scream one-shots, PandaCat by blinking in onto him and critting him and then chasing him with that ultimate. I mean, this is something that you have to be worried about now.
Look at this from eUnited. They found Sam unawares in the jungle. Magai's Cloak, but a nice portal right on back. Will that stop Sam? Not for the time. Scream will have to use the Windfire wheels as well. Down he goes, and Sam for soccer is no more, at least not for the next 68 or so seconds. Fire Giant had just respawned. eUnited caught Rival maybe a bit unawares. Another great portal back on the fineokay into the wall. He goes Variety. We'll find the execute. CaptainTwig will try to disengage this fight with a Kraken. PBM wants to re-engage, and PandaCat thanks him for it. A double kill from the Team Rival Hunter to pull this one back.
You said thanks him for it. I'm saying he banks him for it. He finds a sick ricochet in order to get that kill, and then the double onto Variety after the fact. And now, I mean, you lose both solo laners and both junglers, but with this still a lot of damage on both sides. But you've got a Cerberus on one end, a Yemoja on the other. Cerberus is going to do a much better job at starting an initiation for you than the Yemoja, who's really just going to be there to protect. You know, it's the protect attack sort of meme, but Yemoja's the protect and Cerberus is the attack.
Well, it's Fire Giant enhanced version locked down for Team Rival. Will still be 3 members strong. 3 members strong on the defense from eUnited, but PBM may be looking for a game-ending play. Hurriwind burned down, and CaptainTwig will roll the wave right on through. Snoopy into the wall, but right out he goes. A double kill for the Poseidon. Aggro, this is the opening. Rival may look to end.
You're saying Mike might find the game-ending play? He did. He jumps over that Discordia ultimate and puts out a ton of damage onto Hurriwind. He's got a Soul Reaver and a Void Stone. He does plenty of damage to Hurry, and that opens up the door.
Well, the scales tilt right back. The 2 members of eUnited that were dead have respawned, but back to the gray screen. And Scream will maybe just get a consolation prize onto CaptainTwig. Naja on the retreat, but a double kill from the Kali will put this one to bed. Rival exercising the demons from week number 1 will take down eUnited, at least in game number 1.
Man, it didn't look like that was the way it was going to go there for a while. I mean, eUnited get off to a roaring start. They look really, really good early on. Then they have one really, really bad engagement where the whole script flips by Fire Giant. And then it's pretty back and forth after that. I don't know who made the call from eUnited to go up and try and defend that EFG, but Hurriwind was just too far forward. PBM still has Blink, plays it absolutely perfectly, hits everything, puts himself in a position to win, and the rest of the carries are able to follow up and clean up what PBM started.
That's why we love SPL. What a game here in game number 1. eUnited Rival. Game 1 goes the way of Rival. We'll go back to Finch to tell us how it happened.
Thanks, Dolson. I don't know, man. It's still back and forth, isn't it? It was just a bunch of these weird, odd engagements from these two teams, and I think a lot of it probably can come down to the drafts and the tools they were working with in those spots. Now, it forced them to took more engagements that they wouldn't normally have to take. But I got Mifflin here to help me make a little bit more sense of it, so I appreciate y'all on the cast. Miff, what was your kind of thought process to talk to you a little bit about what happened there in that last game with some of these engagements? Because first you have that fire giant fight where things don't look right, and that was a poor fight there from Scream, but then you have the left side Phoenix where Rival didn't look good. Why was it so back and forth like that?
Rival got blown out in the early game. For 24 full minutes, eUnited are completely in the driver's seat, and they don't let go of the gas even once. One misplay around Fire Giant where Scream targets out PBM, the literal worst target they hit with your Naja ult. If PBM gets hit by Naja ult, he's already won the fight for his squad. The entire time, the rest of eUnited is just staring at the air, waiting for PBM to land. Meanwhile, Sam's tearing up your backline on Cali, and from there, the Rival's in the driver's seat. But here's where the failing with Rival comes through, is a little bit in their draft. How are they going to be able to siege a team? How are they going to move in on these Phoenixes? They don't really have a confirmable way to get inside a Phoenix and deal damage consistently because their engagement factor is a little bit weaker. Sam was able to dive in, but immediately was removed from the playfield by Naja ult. A fantastic pick from Scream takes out CaptainTwig. A lot falls apart there. Then Rival, again, has to return to a state of equity. Both teams are just playing going forward, but Rival's comp just kind of lacks cohesion, and eUnited takes the dub. I'm going to call it a game of throws. That's how I'm going to label this one.
I mean, that's basically the way that you talk. That's a very Mifflin way, I think, to respond to that. And it did feel that way, didn't it? It felt like in the early game, like Rival didn't really have this cohesive identity with that draft. I wasn't so sure what it was that they were trying to achieve, but then eUnited hit this brick wall, which is how do we start these fights over time? I mean, yeah, the Scream ultimate onto a priority target is a good way to start a fight, but you can't start every fight that way realistically. It's a little bit too much burden, I think, to put on that Naja. And what about that last fight? I mean, they had this big grouping, eUnited did in particular, on the Chaos side of the map where they end up catching out all on his own, Sam for Soccer. It takes a little bit longer than you'd expect, but they get that solo pick on him there. Then when they rotate back over towards mid, PandaCat finds this sick double kill out of nowhere, and it turns it back around again. This is what we're talking about in terms of that it was hard to tell which way the momentum was going because the team that should have been in control ran into these brick walls where things got bounced back the other direction.
Man, you hit me in my feelings bringing up that pick onto Sam. Immediately, what comes to mind is, are you ever playing like an MMO or an RPG with your boys, and for some reason your mage decides to open up a door to like a tavern or something first and immediately gets blown up? That's exactly what happens. United find the pick. They were like, okay, we're feeling good. Let's rotate in a lane. For some reason, the carries were walking out front, immediately get eviscerated by PBM, or not PBM, PandaCat rather.
Yeah.
And then from there, 2-for-2 trade. You just got to back up, go back to farming, and wait for that next Fire Giant. And from there, Rival, rather, just didn't really have the cohesive comp. United didn't have any sort of engage. So we see this wet noodle engagement where neither team really knows what they want to do on this dance, and it just kind of fizzles for a while until eventually United find their way in.
So Rival, the team that does eventually end up coming out on top, but it did not look like it for the majority of this game here, Mifflin. And that's why I'm thinking that more and more it's becoming important to me, the way that these drafts end up going down, because I think I understood all of the individual pieces for what Rival wanted, right? You want this Poseidon, who's great at punishing the Naja and gives you a ton of great objective confirm. What about the Cerberus? He burns all these beads out. That's going to set up our fights later, and he's got a little bit of the anti-heal in the kit. That's great. Up against the Yemoja, and the Houyi's a safe top pick, so we'll take that there too. But I didn't end up seeing how they lined up towards the end. I would love to hear Rival talk a little bit more to me about what sort of the idea was, but it ends up working for them. They're able to make the individual plays and stall out long enough to where they're able to eventually grab that victory, even if maybe the holistic plan wasn't so clear from minute one.
Man, the draft from Rival, it really, truly did not make any sense to me. And I have to say, it probably didn't make any sense to eUnited either, and they just didn't know truly how to play against it. Maybe if you don't know what you're going to do yourself, how is your enemy supposed to read you? But in Game 2, I imagine we will see a little bit more of a shift towards a more standard comp from both teams, get some more standard engage from both sides, and look for these 5v5 fights. I don't imagine either team's really looking to take another 40-minute game going forward, but United going to stick to their guns, ban out that Hercules. You don't want PBM comfortable. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, try and force him down to something else. I mean, clearly we know that he's willing to take this pick even if it is a bit of an odder pick high up in the draft. So trying to mitigate his value early makes sense to me, since clearly Rival looks to prioritize it. It will also be the Raijin band coming out alongside this one. Again, this makes a ton of sense to me. I do want to talk a bit about these sort of objective secure mages like we saw from Poseidon, who can use that movement speed really well. Do you think there's a trend that we're heading towards that? Because we saw the Raw happen a little bit earlier on too, and maybe we'll be back to seeing these mages who can guarantee these objectives a little bit more often.
I think movement speed and objective confirm are making a comeback simply because these teams are so contentious in the team fight phase. There's really no way to differentiate them unless your name is Sanguine, that you can't guarantee you're going to win every single team fight. So we see people shifting their picks towards this Horus so that you can maneuver around the map and blow up an objective. You see the same with Yen, as Poseidon affords you a similar opportunity in that he has fantastic objective burn and mobility. I think that's really why we're starting to see this slight shift in the middle lane.
Right, it's that everyone is so good in these team fights in the late game. Why would I keep drafting for 50-50s when I can try and give myself an edge in some of these other areas on the map? Might perhaps be the mentality these teams are looking at. So with those drafts rounding out, PandaCat will not get to reprise the Ho Yi here this time. Instead, eUnited going to take that Thor with the first pick overall. And there was still a ton available in terms of value, and we're seeing it show up on the other side with Rival's first pick. But I don't know, man. I think Thor in Scream's hands is good enough to where I'm comfortable taking it right off the bat.
And Thor is a very safe pick to take in general. He could just max out his hammer and look for ranged poke, and that's very hard to punish. If he maxes out the Berserker's Barrage, if they don't have any way to really cancel it out, that's fantastic as well. But no matter what, Thor is always going to be looking for dunks in the jungle. He's always going to be able to just do Thor things. He's a very safe top pick, kind of similarly as Ullr. Ullr is always going to be playing Ullr. Erlang, Shen, however, both teams are bringing out some spicy picks this week. I like this pickup. It's going to be able to match that aggression. You can take it in the support role and just play completely aggressively on the enemy purple buff. Try and guarantee that you can just strip away that farm consistently. And this Izanami being hovered is going to play into that as well. No one's going to get lane pressure over an Iza.
No, it's not happening. Her clear, or her just straight up, clear, is pretty much unmatched with those boomerang autos and her ability to push the waves down quickly. So if you want lane clear in a can, the ability to just push the lane right away, it's hard to do it much better than Izanami. And the Erlang Shen we're discussing as well, too. Plenty of crowd control. There was a while where Erlang Shen was just the priority pick because you could build him defensively and still have tons of burn potential as well. But he's dropped off lately, Myth. I don't know. I think Erlang Shen support still can be potentially strong, and with the Thor picked, I think it's likely where we're going to be seeing the Erlang.
I really think Erlang plays similarly to Hercules in what you want to do. Just a little bit less safety, but the potential to snowball is a lot higher with Erlang. And with Izanami, her fight in the early game is a little bit weaker until about level 6-7. She starts getting some points in her 2 for that burst damage. Until then, her ability to trade is completely contingent on her first ability, and it's not going to be maxed out. Your auto attacks are going to have to tick twice. Erlang Shen's going to bring that fight potential. If someone sits in front of them, that spear, the damage to him on his 1, he's got plenty of ways to make sure that he's going to make up for some of the weakness out of Izanami. Then again, Yemoja on the other side is going to be able to deal with that poke that Erlang Shen's so known for. Hachimon's an incredibly safe pick. He's going to be able to just escape on a horse if anything goes wrong. I do really enjoy this Discordia pickup into the enemy team just because that cripple is going to come into play. If Erlang tries to move in aggressively, oftentimes we'll try and see him turn into the turtle, try and engage through the enemy team and shift out that way. The cripple's going to stop that from going through, and it's fantastic self-peel.
Yeah, it's good peel up against just about everyone here on the United, right? Thor and Erlang Shen kind of want to get in, do their stuff, then leave, and the Discordia Cripple might potentially make that a much harder option. So Rival choose to ban away some frontliners with their next 2 bans. The Sobek and the Tyr both taken off the table. United, on the other hand, go straight towards the jungle, ban away the Susano and the Kali. And it looks like Rival are not too worried. I doubt it's Osiris jungle. We have maybe occasionally seen it, but it looks like they're going to be letting Sam kind of survey the entire draft from United and then pick the jungler he wants to take.
Yeah, I have to imagine this Osiris is going to go into the solo lane. Maybe he even thinks that it's going to be an Erlang in that solo lane as well. That is a flex that could happen. Thor could also be flexed towards solo, so maybe Rival is just kind of waiting it out, going to take the most safe pick that they can for solo, who's going to be able to fight into anybody, and then prepare this last pick for Sam. Thanatos still available, comes to mind, especially considering this Khepri being hovered. Can't deal with the revive, might as well just execute the enemy. And it's going to be fantastic counter rotations for this Thor to match that global pressure.
But it's the Baron Samdi coming in for eUnited, which should confirm that it will be the Baron over in the short lane, right? We see Baron solo just about more than we see him anywhere else. Erlang, Shen likely support at this point then, and obviously Scylla mid. He's not going to get over to the long lane. And I think Baron can do well when he rotates out of that long lane, provides a little bit of that sustain, some extra control tools as well that you might not consider normally. I don't know. I don't mind this pick here so much. Plus, it splits up your magical physical split over there on the solo side.
I like this pick a lot. It's also going to be an insanely tanky target and in-combat healer. If anyone engages there, he should be able to match some of the sustain that Yemoja is bringing. Pele getting picked up into this Scylla. If Scylla misses Sikkim, rest in peace. Pele's going to blow you up in a heartbeat and close the gap. So you're going to have to be completely reliant on your singular one ability to self-peel, especially considering the rest of your comp is more dive-focused.
So maybe some interesting picks going to show up here for us in game number 2. I'm excited to see how they work in action. It's Dolson and Aggro to bring us the call.
It's Team Rival that are looking to go back-to-back here in game number 2 and take the set the same way eUnited did in week number 1. Now Aggro, I think it's something we kind of pieced together back and forth conversations in game 1. Rival, of course, came out with the win, but it felt almost uncharacteristic in a way, less clean, potentially. Maybe that's to eUnited's benefit, where they were able to kind of drag Rival down and play a little bit more of their down and dirty play style.
I think that it certainly wasn't the clean game that either team really wanted, but at the end of the day, Rival got the win, so not too big of a deal. Pretty big deal that fineokay misses that sickle, because that could have been a pretty good amount of pressure on the Genetics, who's playing this Erlang Shen, and look at where Snoopy has, gone. He's gone all the way up to this wave. Finch called it pressure in a, lane clear in a can. Snoopy's doing it, but he's going to take a lot of damage for it.
We'll be able to dash right on through, and that's over to the purple buff. He goes. Genetics on the Erlang Shen, of course, will be playing support. So another look at a warrior support, and it's PBM who will secure that purple buff for Team Rival. So an aggressive start there for Snoopy on the season. Nami, a god really in this hunter role, or in any role for that matter, haven't been able to see all that much. PBM ends up rotating over and picking up the purple buff for the Rival long lane. Snoopy, though, will be the beneficiary here for United. What are expectations, though, for Izanami here in this game? I mean, I certainly think she brings some lane pressure, good wave clear to the table. Where do you think she stands, and maybe why we haven't seen her quite as much?
Yeah, my expectations are fairly low unless you can get off to a good start, which is what Scream's going to try and do over here all by himself with this little bit of help from the Sunder from Genetics, but the Horrific Emblem is good enough to get PBM out of danger. And if you get behind on this Izanami at all, you are food for PandaCat. I mean, you just have no chance to really survive, and that's why Scream is spending so much time over here.
Scream is right back, but Sanford Soccer has joined the party this time. That's the 2-tap, and instead of the second tap, Scream will reactivate to teleport over to his hammer. Genetics, though, is looking for the re-engagement. We've seen some early fireworks over here in the long lane, haven't we? Somehow nobody's dead. CaptainTwig might not be able to say the same for him. Had to burn the beads a moment ago. Won't have it here. Hurriwind waiting on some of those cooldowns to come back. Scream is in range, misses the root, but that's the spin around.
No
that's good.
way.
And CaptainTwig maybe makes it out alive. The crush is enough. Hurriwind will finish it off for first blood, but Sanford Soccer has now re-engaged.
Man, I thought I was going to say, if Twig lives from this, that is insane. And I know Chad is likely going to be roasting Hurriwind for that first crush where he puts it a little bit to the right, but that was actually very smart. It forces Twig to go the way that's going to kill him. If Twig is able to go to the right and he walks through the crush, he dies to the damage. And if he goes to the left, he'll eventually, in theory, get killed by pressure from Scream. And that is what ends up happening. Twig also loses the purification beads, attempting that invade on that side of the map. So that is pretty important that Hurriwind and Scream are able to pick that up and now open up the door for a pretty easy dunk setup on this I'm a Monster.
If you were to tell me that the first blood was going to be in the middle lane after the first couple of minutes we saw here, I would have laughed at you, but that's where we stand. Hurriwind off to a great start. Now Scream is off to a decent start of his own with an assist in his belt. Now Sanford Soccer, he has found some counter rotations through this game. Took some time on that Kali in game number 1 to really get online. But it's not for the lack of trying, and I think we've seen some of that same from Sanford Soccer early on in this game as well. Rotating, trying to counter gank here in this long lane Does Pele, in your mind, need some of that time, though, to warm up and really start to make an impact, whereas a Thor can kind of just dunk down right at level 5?
I think as soon as Pele hits 5, she's pretty strong as well. I mean, even pre-5, she just has so much movement speed that she can put herself in any position she needs to at any given time in order to be aggressive. I think that the Pele versus Scylla matchup should be one that Sam should be pretty happy with, because Scylla will use Sentinel, then you have your Volcanic Lightning right after the fact, and then normally Scylla players get away with the extra movement speed from I'm a Monster. You're not out movement speeding the Pele, so I think that I would be surprised if Sam doesn't get a chance to punish Hurriwind pretty frequently in these team fights.
Sam was looking to maybe punish Variety, who will be playing the solo lane Baron Samdi. Absolutely not a out-of-this-world pick in the sense of haven't seen it, but has seen some success. I mean, lane control, good sustain. I mean, up against an Osiris who has some of the same as well. Where do you think Variety tries to make an impact in this game, whereas maybe we're a little bit more used to seeing what an Osiris will do?
I think he's going to be looking for this Yemoja in the Pele more often than not. As soon as that ultimate is down for Yemoja, or for Pele rather, that's a pretty free pool, because Sam doesn't have purification beads at this point. Once he hits level 12, that'll be different, but pre-12, that's an option. I don't know. I mean, Riptide will push you away from that life of the party, but as soon as that you get that max hysteria, as soon as you start to get that increased pull speed, I don't think Riptide's going to be enough to really get you away from that life of the party. And so don't be surprised if Variety's trying to use that ultimate consistently on PBM.
Sure, it's good potential setup there for Variety. And speaking of setup, PBM has locked in a couple members of eUnited here. Scream has dunked down and found some good damage onto CaptainTwig, who's going to try to re-engage over onto Genetics, who will have to use the movement to get out, but Sam for Soccer blinks through. The apple connects. But Sam, the Pele, will find the first kill here for Team Rival. Snoopy's not done, though. He'll drop down the ultimate as well. PandaCat crushed down. This Hurriwind will snag the second of the game. PBM still low health. But Scream has to burn the Aegis as well, and Sam for Soccer turns around. 2 kills in this engagement for Team Rival. United only able to turn around 1.
I love the aggressiveness from Hurriwind, though. I just love the way that he's playing this game with his mentality of getting in there with the Scylla, but Sam is just so patient. Hurriwind still wants a little bit more, knowing the beads are down for Twig, but now I think that aggressiveness that I was liking a moment ago might come back to bite him, though. Without that Volcanic Lightning, it's going to be pretty hard for Sam to really punish him from this position.
Well, there are some low health members of Team Rival, but they are kind of nuzzled beneath the Tier 1 tower, and what a start from Hurriwind in this game, largely beneficiary of maybe an out-of-place CaptainTwig, and now also a great fight set up here by eUnited. You know, the potential of Scylla, I think, has been debated in some earlier sets we've had today, and even into the past to ad nauseum. But when you're hitting those abilities, you're rooting some down. I mean, it's a simplistic hit in what they're looking to do. I think everyone's done a great job of it up to this point, and gotten an early lead over the lane counterpart, maybe not levels-wise, but a couple of kills is going to make this Scylla a little bit harder to deal with.
And she did recently get a buff, which I think helps her quite a bit, in that you can detonate that crush when you're CC'd or dead. And that's a big deal at a high level where that counterplay was actually taken advantage of. I know a lot of people felt like that was happening all the time, but that's a pretty hard thing to really master. If you can, is Scream will be okay, forces out that ultimate from CaptainTwig, and PBM going to ride along, but not crippled out that time by Hurriwind. And where it's actually bigger more often than not than being able to detonate it while you're dead or anything like that, which happens but not that often, is the fact that you get to combo much more easily, where you can sick 'em, crush, rise up into your ultimate, and then detonate the crush right before you start your fire animation on the I'm a Monster. It makes Scylla's one-shot combos much, much easier to actually execute. It was possible before with some tight timing if you were really quick, but now it's much, much easier to execute on.
Well, Hurriwind has executed 2 targets, as a matter of fact, 8 minutes into this game. So 100% of the kills for eUnited, only 2. But mid lane has, not only for Hurriwind here, been a target for eUnited. You think back to game 1, CaptainTwig kind of relentlessly dove on in the early game on that Poseidon. Maybe it's an interesting rotation to move into the eUnited jungle here, gets him caught out by Hurriwind. But then it's the return ganks from eUnited. Maybe not unexpected when Scream is piloting that Thor. But you can obviously see kind of the impact points of this map, and it's really maybe been from both teams. Haven't seen a whole lot of action in the long lane. Haven't seen a whole lot of action in solo. The action will continue in the mid lane. This time, though, it's PBM who will swoop through. Scream staying aggressive, though. Slams down an apple for disengage, but he Aegis's it out. Does he have the damage just enough at the end, thanks to Hurriwind? But Sanford ends up falling, so does Scream. That's a dash forward now by Hurriwind. PBM, the little sidestep crush, and then Variety will finish off that kill. The tug of war continues, with now maybe CaptainTwig facing down.
And perfect use of that ultimate by Variety. Hurriwind gonna split off and leave Variety to his own devices, which is getting cut down by fineokay and PandaCat. No way for Baron to get away from this engagement. But Hurriwind continues to get a lot of farm, which is exactly what you want your Scylla to do in the early game, because it accelerates you towards that late. Snoopy without having to rotate, where PandaCat does. It starts up this Gold Fury, and this should be secured by eUnited.
It doesn't look like Sam will be in range. Yeah, Hurriwind's getting a lot of farm. 4 members of Rival, I guess, double as minions for Hurriwind this game. 4-0-1, moving in to the Doom Orb as well. So it's an item I think we talked about a decent bit last game that we saw picked up. But here again on the Scylla, maybe Chronos Pendant's what we're used to seeing, and maybe not Scream getting soloed is what we're used to seeing, as fineokay has moved his way to the kind of the proxy farming, but also a kill. Maybe a different look there for fineokay, and that's great to get this Osiris off to a good start.
Oh, fineokay's farming all right. He's farming minions, he's farming characters, it doesn't matter. He's off to a really good start now that he gets the kill on that rotation from PandaCat, and they are able to get Variety. He gets the assist on that one, and they're the kill onto Scream, which is... You also want your Osiris to get ahead early. Look, there's no character in the game you want to get behind early on, obviously not. But setting this Osiris up, it's kind of hard for a character like Baron to get away if this Osiris is going to get really, really far ahead. Baron has tools. He's got the root. He's got the slow immunity on the 2. Those are both really, really critical to getting away from the Osiris. But if Variety misses that root or fineokay jumps over it, pretty easy for this Osiris to be a real control monster in these team fights. And Genetics doesn't want to have to use his CC to peel this early on. He wants it to do damage.
He might have to use it to peel himself, and instead pulls PBM back in. And that's the execute for the 5th time this game. Thanks to Hurriwind. Sanford was potentially dunked on. So much damage from eUnited. Blink and you miss it. Sanford may have blinked one too many times there. A nice double kill swing for eUnited. Hurriwind picking up his 5th.
And you mentioned Blink. So did Hurriwind. He bought one and used it over that mid-camp wall. It's something that you see a lot in ranked. You know, the Fed Scylla buys Blink. Now she's Blink melee wanting you, and you're just dead every time to this character. Hurriwind's feeling himself, man, and I think it's the right play. Now, it's risky. You want Aegis against a lot of what Rival has. You want Aegis whenever you get appled. You want Aegis whenever Sam closes that gap on you. But at some point, you've got to play to win, right? You can't play to not lose. Mm-hmm. And I think that this Blink and how much farm Hurriwind has right now and how much he's doing in these team fights, it puts a lot of pressure on his shoulders in order to perform with this Blink, but I think he's done so very well so far this game. I think it's the right call.
Yeah, you can kind of feel where the confidence is at now in the eUnited mid laner for good reason. Undying so far and affecting all 7 of the kills with 5 of them in his own back pocket. And maybe now do more seems to be, it's what I sort of mentioned before. fineokay found that kill between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower in that solo lane. It's a start that now we've seen back-to-back games from some of these mid laners. I'll admit I'm maybe more used to seeing Chronos Pendant, but that's a very specific maybe scenario and an item I think that you enjoyed last game and probably still do here for Hurry.
Yeah, I mean, the Doom Orb is definitely the call for him because he just wants as much power as humanly possible. Things like Chronos Pendant or Soul Gem that we see bought a little bit earlier on at times. You don't need CDR or a whole lot of it in order to be effective as Scylla. I think the 20% that Hurriwind has now is perfect. You're trying to kill them with the first rotation of abilities. And then, if they Aegis that first rotation, your second one isn't forever away with a little bit of CDR. But it's also not coming up in 3 seconds, because if it were coming up in 3 seconds, that would mean that you're not doing enough damage with that first rotation to actually force the relics. I think that this is the right style of build for Hurriwind. I do wonder if he's going to go poly, because Poly is really, really strong when you have this Blink initiation already. Blink 1, Poly Auto 2 is going to kill a lot of squishies come late game. It's actually more efficient to 2 and then Poly Auto because the prot shred from the 2. But we'll see where he wants to go with that, if at all.
Here comes Scream. Down he goes, and it's PBM who catches the hammer. Execute down onto fineokay, but it won't finish off that kill, so no reset for Hurriwind, and instead fineokay will turn around this fight. CaptainTwig launches out the apple and will get a kill for it. Solo our team rival, but numbers-wise, they come out ahead. 3 members left for eUnited. Still, though, rival have to retreat. The dunk that was not to be for Scream, and rival at a couple.
Ooh, good try there by Hurry. Tries to use that Blink initiation. Doesn't work, but Scream's hammer will do some work at forcing back rival in that moment. I think Hurriwind, his vision was obscured there, and he couldn't see the Yemoja because of that River's Rebuke. I think it's one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to how disruptive that ultimate is in team fights. It's not just the fact that it's a giant geometry that's going to prevent you from going exactly where you want all the time, but it's also really, really hard to play around because you lose so much vision. Hurriwind used the ultimate on Fine when if he would have just used it on the Yemoja, it would have gone better.
Oh, Sam moves in and steals away the Fury. Scream will get the kill, but rival turn around. A Fury start by eUnited. CaptainTwig still incredibly low. I'm not sure he ever went back, and Scream will be looking maybe for the dive. Doesn't know where Twig is. Twig will get out alive. But you got to talk about that steal from Sam for Soccer. That's the second Fury in the game. First for Team Rival. Does end up dying for it, but that keeps the gold about where it's at. 1.5K in the lead are eUnited.
Seemed like eUnited wanted to reset in response to that blink in, and Sam just picked it up before that Fury reset entirely, and he gets a huge steal, and that is massive to stem the bleeding that eUnited has really started, because they feel like they have all this momentum. And look, Oni Fury at this point in the game, not that good for Rival. I think it's the worst Fury they could have gotten, but they still got the Fury, and that's what's really important. I'm glad that we get a chance to see this replay, because this should be on Hurriwind to secure this every time. I don't know if Crush just wasn't up. I think that you just need to hold DPS a little bit longer there and wait for Crush. There's no reason to put it into steal range without having that ability up. I'm a Monster was certainly still down at that point, but I think you hold it at 2K if you want, or you reset it a little bit and let it heal back up to 2K. But there's no reason to not just lay down that Crush and wait for it to get into execute range right around 600-700, and then you're able to pop that and guarantee that Fury goes your way.
Hurriwind's so used to executing enemy players, maybe the Fury escaped his mind this time around. Didn't quite remember the interaction there. Nonetheless, though, Team Rival take away that Fury. Such a different look from game number 1, and that's kind of a point I was trying to make. In game 1, by this point, a Fire Giant is just a couple of minutes away. I guess still technically could be, but then 2 open Furies just a couple of moments later. A little bit more calculated, maybe not kill-wise, a touch slower, but haven't quite seen as much early game snowballing off some of the fights that we saw in game number 1. Maybe some of the fights in game 1. A little bit more hefty, multi-kills. eUnited will take away the Pyromancer this time. Doesn't look like there will be much of a fight on the other end. But eUnited turn around to Lost Fury and take a Pyro for themselves.
And despite all these kills, doesn't it feel like eUnited's in the lead, but Rival's actually tied.
Yeah, it's intangible.
Right now. They also have 8 kills right now. The XP difference is very, very close, and that's because of a very big XP lead for fineokay again in that solo lane that he has over there. But Snoopy's balancing that out with an XP lead for himself on this left-hand side because he stayed in lane, whereas PandaCat has rotated a little bit more. So you've got these different XP discrepancies, and oftentimes when it comes down to this, it's which side laner will be more effective with their XP lead or will be able to stay relevant with their XP deficit better than their opposition. And so even though a lot of this fighting has been around the mid lane so far in the 3v3, watch out for which side laner is going to be the more impactful one come teamfight time.
Well, Snoopy wants to take that to heart and will sense Team Rival kind of collapsing on the long lane there. Be able to back himself off. It's been kind of a different look, not only kind of game presence-wise, but, a lot of mid-lane, solo lane pressure in game 1. One thing I think that is somewhat consistent is outside of maybe the first couple of minutes of this game and game number 1, haven't seen much from the Hunters. Rotate in from PandaCat does affect just over half of the kills, so maybe an overstatement by myself there, but Snoopy only affecting a couple of kills. It's been a different look where maybe there haven't been enough fights on this side of the map where we see kind of continued presence. And Snoopy, maybe he's happy. He's got a couple levels of lead over PandaCat. This Izanami is going to start to scale herself quite well.
Just through these 2 games, I think it is pretty clear that eUnited has been working on different things in scrims. They're changing their playstyle up a little bit, and it's pretty clear to me that eUnited really likes this idea of funneling farm to Hurriwind in the early game, and for good reason, by the way, because I think he's had a really good day so far.
Yeah.
And then leaving Snoopy to his devices for later on in the game. Did it on the Chernobog, doing it now on the Izanami. It's going to be harder for him to get involved on the Iza than it was with that Global.
Well, maybe a 19-minute Fire Giant isn't all that unreasonable, and United will attempt their second in 2 games. fineokay now dunked down on, and Hurriwind will execute his 6th target of the game with Scream turning around the damage onto PBM. Crush Aegis out by CaptainTwig, but it's United who have found 2 kills with Sam for Soccer lurking in the back.
Well, this time Sam is going to get some attention paid to him as Scream hammers in, and Sam going to put him down quickly. They can't burn him fast enough, but eventually Snoopy cuts him down.
CaptainTwig will get yet another kill in this fight. You stand at a 2 for 2 here, now with this Discordia on the full retreat. Aegis beads both down for CaptainTwig. Can you hit your abilities? That's the question. The root will connect, the damage is down, and Variety will benefit. 2 kills now in this game for the Baron, and when it's all said and done, a few kills for eUnited right around the FG.
And Hurriwind is really thinking about going in here. You can tell that he's itching for another fight. But after losing both Scream and Genetics, that does put a damper on that great play from eUnited. I think Scream does everything really well there, gets a little bit unlucky to get hit by the Apple Ricochet, and then decides to hammer in, which was just not a good call without any relics. Sam immediately punishes him. I think Sam dies there, or has to get out of the fight entirely without getting any kills if he just hammers him and walks away.
Variety is here to play as well, as Primal Fury taken down just shy of half HP by Team Rival. So the respawn's just a touch slower. It's CaptainTwig that's now the last one to be reinforced, but a tale as old as time. One team starts the Fury, the other team starts the FG. Scream, Anvil of Dawn looking maybe for PBM, River's Rebuke separating them, and eUnited will secure the FG. And there's only 2 members from Rival. Slight collapse from the mid lane though. Scream taken down, but Genetics will dash his way right on back in. PandaCat's here to play as well. The Hunters have joined the fight. Genetics takes a tumble, but it's eUnited who get away with 4 members with FG buff.
Man, Mike read that situation really, really well. Actually predicted exactly what Scream was going to do to try and zone him out of that fight. But it's still, Scream does his job perfectly. And despite PBM knowing it's going to happen, is powerless to stop it. Genetics does exactly the right thing, gets in there, sacrifices himself to get Scream out of danger.
Oh, and now Rival will pivot back to that Fury. It's fineokay just playing frontline. 4 members of eUnited, still with Fire Giant, and they get the Fury. We've seen a couple of steals so far this game, but this time it's eUnited that have taken it away. Bad to worse for Team Rival. Not only do you lose the Fire Giant a few moments ago, 4 members of eUnited still with it. Now you start up a Fury and are unable to secure it.
Much better for it to go this way for eUnited than the other way, where if they just agreed to whoever starts the Fury gets it, they would be much worse for wear right now, because that Fury sucks even more wind out of the sails from an already deflated Team Rival, and now eUnited's going to be able to get a lot of gold off this map. Tier 2 in left as well as the Tier 1. No ult for Hurriwind, and so I'm a little bit surprised that eUnited's willing to keep on pushing.
Hello, Left Phoenix. 23 minutes into this one, eUnited are going to keep pushing their way through. Snoopy plugs some great damage in onto PBM as Scream will slam his way on down. That's a decent stun over onto fineokay, but difficult now to burn down that Osiris. United actually are going to stick around here, sensing a couple members of Team Rival might have to go back to base. The Phoenix defense now in full force for Team Rival. Apple connecting, and a couple members have to dash back, and Genetics gets executed. A double kill now for CaptainTwig, but Snoopy will drop down Sam for Soccer. Hurriwind looking for a target now for the execute. Won't connect, and fineokay has found a re-engagement he might be happy with.
And Hurriwind's got to use the beads. He's in trouble now, just a little bit too greedy. Maybe not. Scream re-engages, hammers in, but can't find Panda yet. The heals from PBM, too strong.
Then Hurriwind sidesteps out of fineokay's awaiting arms, and might be able to escape, still deathless at the end of this fireworks show. Snoopy just gonna move his way back in, actually staying stealthed up. CaptainTwig, no! Snoopy snags the kill. Still's gotta dance his way out of it, but CaptainTwig now on a 1-minute cooldown.
Snoopy should have that fadeaway coming up sooner rather than later. A little sneaky beaky-like for Snoopy, getting in there with that stealth and finding CaptainTwig, who had a great team fight, by the way. I mean, he had multiple strifes over the wall that were really strong, a great ultimate on the Genetics. Genetics continues to be a real force for this team in mentality and shot calling. I think that's pretty evident, but still has yet to catch up mechanically to where I think eUnited need him to be. He whiffs his ultimate on that left side Phoenix fight. That just can't happen come late game because you need that to set up for Hurriwind's ultimate in that team fight. It just feels like that fight went too long for eUnited, because then Hurriwind's like, okay, I'm in my ultimate, I really want to get someone with this, but you're not hitting anyone with that telegraphed ult. I mean, it's not a matter of mechanics, it's that it's just too reactable at this level. I think eUnited really get away with a bad call to stick around in that fight, and I think that feature of eUnited, that we still think we can just outplay them and make this insane play, they've got to lose that mentality sooner rather than later, because I think it's really, really hurt them so far this year in the SPL.
Scream will play Living Ward up in the sky, and eUnited will take down the Pyromancer. Good moment maybe to zoom on out, 25 minutes into the game. That's now about a 7k gold lead for eUnited. Maybe that 5k metric. Granted, it was based around the team comp of Team Rival in game number 1, but eUnited now in back-to-back games have been able to pull themselves a relatively large lead as far as gold goes. And you look at the KDAs. You have your one carry in the mid lane at 607. You have Snoopy at 305. You know, kills may be even, but it's sort of a callback to what you maybe mentioned earlier, where it's that intangible. eUnited are just in control of this game, and every metric may be outside of the kills.
I mean, the gold is really heavily in their favor. It felt like they had more momentum than lead earlier on, and now it feels like they might have more lead than momentum after that defense on the left-hand side. I think Snoopy does a lot in order to try and turn that around and find that kill onto CaptainTwig, but that is ancient history in terms of what actually matters at this point.
It's a big fight, and fineokay might not be able to participate, has to leap his way away, but Scream will cut off the escape route. You can never forget about the Anvil of Dawn, and eUnited will catch the rival solo laner snoozing just for a moment. And right as Fire Giant had respawned, big pick for eUnited.
And fineokay does have his upgraded teleport, but it's going to be 40-plus seconds till that matters.
Ow, Sanford Soccer realizes Hurriwind, he hurts plenty and will have to dash himself out. 5 members of eUnited all holding various choke points here in the jungle. CaptainTwig will throw out a defensive ultimate, but he ends up getting stuck. A nice portal back from Mike, a double, and it might end up saving Twig's life. He sidesteps, but a beautiful wall from Scream will lock the rival mid laner into the awaiting arms of eUnited. Scream rejoins the fray, has a couple of kills in this one, and eUnited still stand 5 strong.
Man, that fight just goes so well for eUnited because, again, Hurriwind is really, really accurate on that backline, is able to force out beads and ult from Sam and still put him to a sliver of HP. He makes sure Sam's not able to participate in this team fight at all. And now you kind of just get the Fire Giant without a whole lot of contest, but Variety needs to be careful pushing this wave because fineokay has teleported in, and Sam's looking for a bit of revenge.
Might move his way back, does not have life of the party. He's going to move his way back beneath this tower, but it's a bit of a merry-go-round here. Will Sanford Soccer tank up too much damage? No, he'll get the kill, as it was fineokay who was tanking. But hey, Rival, your right side Phoenix is being taken down by the 4 members of eUnited left standing, the 4 members left with the fire buff, and this base is now breaking open. Can Sanford Soccer, though, take down this left side Phoenix in eUnited's base?
This is very smart from PandaCat and PBM. Just keep pressure on so that eUnited can't just stick a back right away. Sam is going to get this Phoenix, and that's actually a great trade for Team Rival right now. Yes, maybe eUnited can just push down that left-hand side and start getting that Fire Wave pushed out and start getting that Phoenix, but you've wasted a minute of their Fire Giant so far. They took down a Phoenix, yes, but it's the one that you're most willing to lose because it's closest to Fire Giant, and now you've got a shot at just ending the game if you win a team fight hand over fist. Really good split push by Sam, a great teleport in by fineokay, and that call to die variety on a tier 2 tower that ultimately didn't end up mattering that much, ends up really hurting eUnited.
Well, you look at XP, all of the carries outside of the supports have officially reached level 20, just waiting on the final crit item for PandaCat, whereas Snoopy has completed his crit build just fine. Hurriwind and Genetics are going to two-man down this Fury with Snoopy maybe just rejoining to take it away. And decent one to have here, especially with Fire Giant coming back up in the next 3 or so minutes. And eUnited agree with maybe the call that you make here, Aggro. There's enough pressure on the left-hand side of this map, especially with that FG coming up in a few minutes. Let's try to break open the Team Rival base, but we remember how it happened a few minutes ago, where Rival had a great defense and really put the brakes on the eUnited win.
Exactly, and so now I think it's very critical. This is where it gets really hard against characters like Discordia. You can't hug the right side whenever you're sieging on the left side, because she's going to be over that wall. And you cannot afford to get multi-man strifed over that wall on your backliners. So now both Snoopy and Hurriwind kind of have to sit on the left side, but you can't have them two grouped up because then they might get double walled or stunned or poked together at the same time. And that's where the balancing act really comes from. But Snoopy's the one who got caught on that right, hugging this exact wall on the right-hand side last time, forced his beads, stopped a lot of the momentum. Think that keeping track of CaptainTwig and where he is and making sure that doesn't happen again is going to be important.
fineokay just lurking over the wall here. United may be looking for that engagement. It's been Screammmmm who slammed down and found some good moments in this game as well. CaptainTwig has done a decent job of disengaging with his ultimate as well. 4-1 split as Screammmmm moves his way over a couple middle lane wards that Rival had out. You know that Sam and fineokay are just lurking around to the side. 45 seconds left on the Fire Giant buff. Can Rival delay that long? eUnited will look to maybe turn it around. PBM pulled right back in, and Screammmmm has dunked on down and finishes off the kill onto PBM. Great first pick for eUnited. Maybe this makes cracking open the left side of the space a touch easier.
Much, much easier. Big mistake there from PBM. He placed that Riptide thinking it would bounce him back, but he was getting pulled so quickly, he didn't realize how much hysteria he had actually built up onto him at that point. He was getting quick pulled pretty much right away, never dropped the ultimate, never used a relic, never did anything except die, and that can't happen.
Miscalculation, but will eUnited get the Phoenix rather nonetheless, as the Titan is under attack by the right side fire wave. Sam4Soccer always lurking. Could be a big difference maker here as fineokay is stunned down. Mid lane Phoenix chipped away. A couple low health bars though on eUnited could be right for the picking Sam4Soccer if he chooses to leap his way in there. Just patient enough at the moment. Looks like maybe eUnited are going to disengage to the opposite side of the map and won't open up the door for Sam to jump in.
I mean, everyone was pretty low. Snoopy in particular took a lot of poke, but I think Sam being patient, not going in, was the right idea, because look at how low the Titan got. Half HP on that. You really can't afford to take an extended engagement that'll take you too long, especially when you're already at the man disadvantage. Smart call by Sam to not go in, but eUnited playing much cleaner this time around. Still feel like that door is opened a little bit too easily because of the misplay there from PBM, and now eUnited has that left side Phoenix up, so they don't have to worry at all about any pressure, and they know that their fire waves are going to eventually reach home, if not cleared. That should open up Fire Giant pretty easily here for eUnited.
Base fully reinforced for eUnited. Still, long lane Phoenix down for Rival. Big difference maker maybe in this fight, as Aggro points out. Genetics just lurking by the side could make a big 9 turns blessing play to taunt in a few. This Fire Giant is going to absolutely melt. You have Snoopy, late game Izanami, couple crit items online, no chance for Rival to move out. And there was never really the thought. I mean, you look at where the map is, fineokay's just trying to push out the pressure in the long lane. Couple members of Team Rival moved themselves to the mid lane, so didn't want to overextend, didn't want to take the fight, didn't want to contest.
And now that Hurriwind has that Polynomicon that I was talking about earlier, not only are his one-shot combos much easier, but getting Phoenixes a lot easier, because that Polyproc makes you really effective at pushing Phoenixes. Not Hunter sustained DPS, but much better burst. Step in, one auto, get out.
Here comes Screammmmm, who are his targets. For the moment, it's CaptainTwig, but immediately takes the hammer right on out, realizing PBM had split the fight in half. Catches the apple from CaptainTwig as well. PandaCat will use the ultimate. It's only 2 ultimates now left up for Team Rival, but they have at least secured the safety of this right side Phoenix. Gotta admire what I've seen from Scream. 6, 5, and 6 isn't a massive slash line, but he's done a good job of finding these maybe opening dunks and trying to get something rolling here for eUnited.
And without him, eUnited's going to have to play this a little bit slower. I wonder if Rival's going to realize that Scream had to go all the way back to base. He decided not to use the Aegis when he got appled there by CaptainTwig and nearly ended up dying because of it. Was pretty late on the shell as well. Didn't actually immune any of that damage, but was worried about getting all in committed upon after the fact. So going to take him a little bit to get back here, and that is a couple moments off that Fire Giant, and now those ultimates that were down for Rival, they're almost back already.
Fire minions moving their way in the long lane as well. Could be a difference once they break through the wave that Rival had just spawned to kind of defend. Titan down to half HP. We saw what one kind of unmitigated fire wave was able to do to the Titan last time. If nothing else, will maybe give a small advantage. Scream is going to look to kick down the door, and he slams, but doesn't end up finding a stun. Has gotten some damage onto CaptainTwig, but a River's Rebuke will split the fight in half. Variety cancels life of the party. PBM will drop down the damage onto Scream, who's the first casualty of this engagement. Save for Soccer Chainsaw, but not before Hurriwind can knock him down in the blink of an eye. eUnited have lost 3 members of their team, or Rival only lose Sam.
Huge defense there by Rival, and eUnited just misses a little bit too much. And now they've missed again by not disengaging in time. Hurriwind is going to be able to get back to his Sentinel.
Nice
tries to blink, but gets put in combat by the Riptide bounce back. And PBM is able to set up himself and fineokay for the kill.
Beautiful Riptide there from PBM to pull back. One more kill now. Suddenly it's Variety who's on the retreat. The only living member of eUnited and the only Fire Giant buff left on the map, but can't say that for long. It's the delayed deicide for Team Rival 35 minutes in. It's the same thing we saw aggro earlier on. I already mentioned the good base defense that Team Rival had. Phoenix defense maybe. And now we've seen it again on the right-hand side. Fully Fire Gianted up. eUnited unable to make the play. Scream again, looking for that initial or the aggressive engage. But I think the River's Rebukes from PBM have also done a good job of mitigating the follow-up pressure that eUnited can have underneath those Phoenixes.
It was a great ultimate from PBM. It just really feels like eUnited ends up missing a little bit too much. I'm not sure where all their damage ended up going in that fight, because it felt like they didn't do a whole lot of it. I'm a Monster either hit fineokay or was jumped over, I believe, so that doesn't do as much as you want it to. Snoopy just dies in the midst of that team fight, uses his relics, but Sam one-shots him. He's not able to do a whole lot of damage because that River's Rebuke is blocking everything, and the frontliners from Rival are kind of holding back on that River's Rebuke and then going up and over at the right time. They're throwing their damage and CC over the wall and then going over right as it's about to end, and so you're kind of pulled up as a backliner. You want to go in and help your members that are caged in by those water walls, but by stepping up, you're just making sure that you all die instead of just those that were locked in the cage.
We have reached the point now, aggro, where everyone in the game is at level 20. The boots may be the last items to go here to complete these builds, so almost feels like a moot point outside of maybe some consumables talking about gold differential, kill differential, and especially with the way some of these fights have been going. We've now seen a couple deicides between these two teams. Kind of get that feeling that one missed play around this Fire Giant, because in 15 seconds that's where it'll be. Could be a big one. It might be Scream now being jumped on by fineokay, if nothing else delays his back. But deep ward coverage for eUnited. You look at above that Fire Giant pit, some good wards will kind of sniff out the avenue of aggression for Rival when they step forward.
Still, Fire Giant started, done pretty quickly. Variety locked in the pit, and Scream might be looking to assist, but Fire still not done quite yet. Getting low, and eUnited's got it.
eUnited will take that one away, and Hurriwind will take his 8th kill of the game. Scream finds himself in the back line, but he's the sacrifice here that eUnited are happy to take. CaptainTwig falls, so does Scream. But it's 4 members left alive with the Fire Giant buff. It's going to be difficult, though. I mean, we've seen how hard it is for eUnited to break down these bases. I mean, it's a moot point, or maybe an ad nauseum point maybe here, with eUnited having difficulty breaking into the base. Rival, though, opting for a different strategy. just going to be a red buff invade, so not all that different. So Sam will take that one away. And get an early jump on pushing out some of these fire minions. Left side Phoenix will respawn here shortly. But it's still this right lane Phoenix that eUnited are going to try finally to break open for maybe the third attempt.
Still only 20 seconds until Twig is up, though, and Scream's up in about the same amount of time, but he's got a lot further to walk than Twig does in order to affect this fight. So this is risky here from eUnited. You're signing up for a 5-on-4 at this point.
Team Rival have regained full control of their Phoenixes. River's Rebuke locks down Genetics off to the side. Will he go down? PandaCat says yes. Rampaging now is this Hachiman. Out of lane he comes to the tune of 5 kills. One more time now. We've seen a slight overextension, a good counter engage. River's Rebuke from PBM. At what point, if you're eUnited, are you trying to take a different avenue? Split up these fights. Let's do a 4v1 split. Let's not have Scream dunk down. It seems like eUnited are maybe trying the same thing a few too many times.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you think of the one Phoenix Siege that went well, though, for eUnited. Yes, it was technically a 3-2 split, but it goes well because PBM insta-dies instead of not making the correct play. And you can't expect that to happen twice in a season, let alone twice in the same game for a player to just make an egregious error like that. Maybe catching PBM here is exactly what they need, but he's still not that far out of position.
Well, Riptide will correct some of that positioning. Where does Scream go? PandaCat could be a good target. Safety, maybe better in the eyes of eUnited. Nobody left in range, but Oracles will be locked down. Suddenly Rival are the ones that are taking the fight over to eUnited. Scream won't have that Anvil of Dawn for a little bit. 30 seconds now on the Fury respawn, so maybe right around there we'll start to see that re-engage. We've reached the point in the game, though, where you know, I think Hurriwind has continued to do a great job in this one. How easy of a time, though, is he going to continue to have trying to find some of these execute targets?
Yeah, that last ultimate was ambitious to I'm a monster, the full health Osiris. I mean, obviously Hurry isn't thinking that's going to kill him. I think that he probably expected to do a little bit more damage than he ended up doing. I mean, this build from fineokay doesn't feel like it's particularly heavy on Magic D, but don't forget, he gets that 8% magical damage mitigation by being in that full passive, 16% for physical, which is very, very high, so no one is able to do a whole lot of damage to him, even with this Titan's Bane here for Snoopy. Going back to what we think eUnited should be doing, I do think I would try and split it up. This is a different look, though. Split it up with Snoopy surprising Sam for Soccer.
Sam for Soccer has the bubble to catch some of the extra damage there. Scream again, disengaging now with the Anvil of Dawn. eUnited still 3 members with the Fire Giant buff, but won't find much for it. Only 20 seconds remaining on that one. I don't know. It seems like we've kind of reached this point of a stalemate where Rival have been able to just disengage these fights beneath the Phoenix enough. eUnited haven't maybe found the opening that they're looking for. I agree with the point you made where it was really PBM who died first overall that cracked open that one side of the map. Primal Fury forfeited by eUnited in the meantime. But on the flip side of the coin, maybe it's not so much what eUnited are doing wrong as what Rival are doing right. Let's play these fights slow. We know that we can stand strong underneath these Phoenixes as long as we don't lose a picked out member. Let's not overextend and take these fights deep in that map where we might not win.
Yeah, I mean, it's as the great philosopher Patrick Starr once said, we seem to have reached an impasse at this moment. It's just too difficult to break the base if you're going to try and 5-on-5 jam it into the Yemoja. I think that it's got to be a 3-on-2 with Hurriwind and Scream. You really can't 4-1 against Pele as Thor. I think you lose that pretty much every time. So you really can't do the Assassin 1v1 dance we see a lot of the time. Instead, I think you use this Polynomicon pressure that Hurriwind is putting out. But without Hurriwind next to Genetics threat level and Variety's threat level go down pretty significantly on these frontliners. I mean, Snoopy's going to do damage, but it's not going to compare to that safe range damage that Hurriwind can put out from a much safer position.
Well, the old saying goes, it takes 10 to tango, and that's the kind of dance we'll have around the Fire Giant fight. Hurriwind aggressively blinks his way to the side, but unable to catch out anyone from Team Rival there.
Yeah.
You can sense
I've got no problem with that, though. I think that's the right idea, right? I mean, if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, you're waiting for Scream to find his perfect dunk or Variety to root the right target that's then going to get rip-tided.
Right, inject some
this
life.
Blink's rotting for you, right? I mean, this Blink's rotting away in your inventory. Use it. And he goes for a pretty low-risk engagement. He's not on a ward. He tries to hit a backliner. He doesn't chase it. That's fine.
PBM could be the first casualty. That's what worked out so well for eUnited last time. And finally, then Yemoja goes down and Scream. He comes down right on top of fineokay. The apple is tossed out by CaptainTwig, but Hurriwind and Snoopy are on the chase. Crush won't connect, but you've got 3 squishy members left to maybe defend this FG. Or if eUnited are feeling it, turn it around and open up the base.
Man, that was huge by Snoopy. That dark portal actually silences out PBM and prevents him from placing another Riptide. Maybe I was roasting Mike for no reason. Maybe that's what happened to him on the left Phoenix. I don't know. I didn't see it happen, but it might have been the same case over there. That time, though, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Snoopy on perfect timing on that dark portal. Great communication between him and Variety on when we're going in for this play. And what do you know? As soon as we insta-kill the Yemoja with our life of the party ult, the whole fight gets a lot easier, just like last time.
20 seconds left on 2 members of Team Rival, and 5 minutes or so on the right side. Phoenix. Scream will take to the skies. Defensive away from Sam, but maybe offensive as he looks for a target to dunk down onto. Will be shrugged off by Sam. Not enough damage to fully finish off the Pele just yet. Titan has a couple minions poking at it, but somewhere else, Genetics has found the kill on a CaptainTwig. There's now 1 member down. 1 minute and 10 seconds left of respawn time. CaptainTwig will not be available for the defense.
But it looks like eUnited gonna slow play this one a little bit. I mean, they're low in the relic department. No beads for Snoopy. Everyone's a little bit poked. So they're gonna take some time to just reset and get that sustain up from this enhanced fire giant. Now that they're coming with a minion wave this time around and everyone's gotten a little bit healthier because that regen, this is a much better opportunity. Plus, you still have 40+ seconds on Twig.
Sanford Soccer might have to make the miracle play. He's lurked around to this right-hand side of the middle lane a few times, but hasn't found much for it. Finally, for the second time in the game, the left side Phoenix will drop down. Sam, still back behind eUnited, just waiting for an engagement. The portal back will send one closer to PBM. Scream has the Anvil of Dawn, but that's a River's Rebuke to separate the fight. PandaCat stunned down. Has Scream found the execute? The Aegis says no, but the fight rages on in the front line, and Hurriwind ends up deleting 1 and now a double. It's the middle lane Phoenix that will be taken down. fineokay and PandaCat against the world.
But now CaptainTwig is back up as well. Scream finds a nice hammer onto Panda, and he doesn't get to play anymore. Good apple coming from Twig, but this Titan's going to get low soon.
CaptainTwig taken very low. Titan down to half HP. eUnited might just turn their attention to the big one. fineokay will end up falling down towards the end, but the Titan does first. eUnited in 47 minutes have tied up this set. We've got a long one on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, eUnited had to work for every inch that they earned on those Phoenixes, and it just took taking PBM out of a couple plays. Scream has 2 really, really nice plays on Panda, and that last little sequence, he sets himself up really nicely and the rest of the team. The first dunk gets Panda's beads and Aegis and forces him back to base. He walks out, Scream double taps him again, and sends him right back to base the hard way. But how do you give it credit to anybody more than Hurriwind, man? 11-1 on the Scylla. He was feeling it early, and he was a huge difference maker for this team.
Well, eUnited can finally let out a deep breath. They seem to be in control for a while there, but finally takes them 47 minutes. They're able to end up grabbing the win. We'll go back to Finch and Mifflin, the world's largest Scylla proponent, to tell us how we got there.
Thanks, Dolson and Aggro. Take a little bit of a well-deserved break. It is Finch and Mifflin here. And Miff, this game from eUnited, we talked about it just a moment ago. The game state really had not changed much. eUnited kind of had the early lead and held it most of the game, but they stalled out trying to make this siege work time and time again. What was the big problem for them in terms of breaking that siege, and what finally changed so they can get the dub?
25 minutes, I think they were really dancing around that Phoenix. Hurriwind playing fantastically just to make sure that he couldn't be dove onto himself. Allowed to free cast for the most part, but they really didn't have any way, eUnited that is, to break through the defense that CaptainTwig threw up. The damage output from this Discordia was absolutely nutty. He sent Scream back to base multiple times. He sent Genetics back to base multiple times. And 4 versus 5, eUnited didn't want to take the push, but it really was just one quick pick that let them get in, and that's all they needed was just one piece of that wall to come down for them to slide their way into the Titan room.
An important piece, too, if you could find PolarBearMike or something like that to open that door up a bit more. But I think you're right to sort of highlight how well CaptainTwig played in this game. And truly a little bit errant from Scream, I think, as well, in terms of the play that we saw from him today. But that was made more difficult by the fact that they had to be very cognizant of where this Discordia was and the fact that she was punishing him. But then on the other side, eUnited obviously playing lights out, in particular Hurriwind in the middle lane, had some facilitation, especially early. It felt like they were willing to do whatever it took to make sure that he did not die that game. But when he's feeling himself like this, on a pick like Scylla, that when she gets to the late game can blow anybody up, it can be hard to stop a team like this sometimes.
I think it was around 16 minutes in on the left side of the map. They were taking a team fight, eUnited, where it immediately goes wrong. Hurriwind gets caught out just a little bit. No kills on him just yet. And the entirety of eUnited, one by one, move up to make sure that Hurriwind gets out of there alive. Some of the most protect the president-esque play I can ever see. And now, earlier today, I said that I'm a Scylla truther now. Baskin showed me the light of the world. Now I can add one more to that list. Hurriwind really proving that Scylla is fantastic for self-peel. Makes it almost impossible if you're just on point with your Sikkim to be dove. We saw a couple times Sanford Soccer try to circle around on the back end of a team fight trying to get the jump onto Hurry. Sikkim Crush comes out. Sam walks out with maybe 100 health left and a frown on his face.
And I do think it is worth talking a little bit, Mifflin, about some of the things that even on the winning team for United, that I don't know if they quite worked out the way that they were supposed to. I talked a little bit about maybe in that hyper late game, the last 10 minutes of the game or so, there were some struggles for Scream. But also I felt like maybe there could have been a bit more work done from Snoopy. I think the build was good. You saw whenever he got into fights, he did a lot of damage, but it felt like throughout the game he was having difficulty finding his spots. Did you see the same thing, or was it a result of maybe not enough setup, or what was your read?
I really do think it comes down, Snoopy's damage being lower, it comes down to the fact that Genetics wasn't really having the best game on that Erlang Shen. His damage output was very low, and Erlang is a god that needs to deal just enough damage to create space, but with his tanky focus, he really wasn't able to just make anyone look at him. So Snoopy just has to sit back, play the Peel role for Hurriwind because he can't really move up on his own. Outside of that, I really think that comp does come to fruition if they have maybe a more traditional Guardian in the support role or something along those lines. My eyes were just constantly glued to Hurriwind. We were talking about it behind the scenes, and I was like, what do you think the odds are he even has 3 deaths this game? And I think you said close to 0.
Yeah, Hurriwind had a monster performance, and they were going to make sure that he did not die. So it is time to go into those picks and bans for our final game of the first set. There's still another set on the way here, SMITE fans, so do not even consider getting up and walking away. We got plenty more SPL action start coming your way, and these picks and bans have been a highlight in and of themselves. I mean, obviously, right, Baron, Scylla, Erlang, Shen, Izanami, tons of picks that we do not see picked up very often. Were prioritized last time, so it's hard to know exactly where they're going to be going with these P's and B's. If anything in particular you want to see valued, get something for Hurriwind maybe, or get something for Scream right away.
Getting anything that's going to make Scream a little bit more comfortable. I think we saw him struggling a little bit towards that 30-minute mark to find an impactful Thor ult. It seemed like he was really stretching himself thin. There were a lot of times that there would be a 4-man stack, and he would try and get all 4. Much easier just to aim for 2 or maybe 1, guarantee something. Instead, he wasn't quite able to find anything. Give him something that he wants to pop off with, something he can perform on. Maybe we see him return to some of these mage jungles. My eyes constantly on the ban phase. eUnited going to go ahead and take away PBM's Hercules. Makes perfect sense to me. You're going to do it every single time. It's going to absorb that ban for the rest of Rival and allow them to take something that they might want otherwise. The Raijin ban means that the really only great mages left available that are on the top of the meta picks are Discordia and Merlin, but we've already seen that Hurriwind isn't really concerned with what your meta dictates. He's able to play just about anything and make it work.
He is. I mean, who'd have thought that Scream would be on a team that's picking weird things, and yet he'd be on the most standard one in the Thor, right? Normally, Scream is the kind of guy that'll play Bastet or whatever jungler it is that he's feeling in the moment. So maybe you're right to try and hone back in on that energy for him and get him something that he can go off on. The first pick overall for United, though, will be the Ullr this time. I think Ullr has mostly been getting banned out here this set, so now that United have been able to grab it, it can be a bit of a flex pick. We've seen Hurriwind play it really well. We've seen Snoopy play it really well. So either one of them, I think, could pilot it.
Either one. I really do prefer him in the long lane just because he's able to box out there and he doesn't have to worry quite as much about the jungle rotation post level 3. Outside of that very early rotation, everything else is going to be relatively choreographed, so he can look to play aggressive. He can look to punish this Yemoja's lack of mobility. He could look to try and box out somebody, but boxing out a Yemoja in an X-Ball, that's not going to be easy. He's got damage in spades, and he's got the healing and shielding in the team fight. If United want to play aggressive around this Ullr, I imagine we see a warrior support or something that's a little bit more action-focused out of the Guardian role, maybe even like an Ares, or we see a reprisal of that Cerberus from earlier on. Or we can run back that Erlang Shen, see if we can get off to a little bit of a better early game start so you can leverage him.
Yeah, it certainly should be action starting off with the Erlang Shen. But what about this Yemoja Xbalanque pickup, right? Yemoja tells you cannot run that way, and Xbalanque tells you cannot even see that you cannot run that way. So it gets even harder, perhaps, to try and figure out where it is you're supposed to be going, trying to deal with that potential team fight from those two guys. Looks like United, though, are hovering the Giannis, and this is kind of an eUnited special. Hurriwind loves to play this god, and it facilitates their play style, but the last-minute pivot right back over to the Scylla that he popped off on in Game 2. I don't think I can complain with the way that he played with it.
11-1, second highest damage in the lobby. All things that you could say about Hurriwind Scylla from the last match. I'm not even a little bit surprised to see it coming forward here. The cripple is going to be very nice. He's going to have very easy targets inside of this Olorun. If he cripples out this X-Ball, that dash is going to be impossible to use. Crush is going to be able to one-shot all of these targets. Rival doesn't have an aggressive comp yet. They don't have a standard support. They don't have something that's going to be able to initiate very easily. They don't have a warrior that's going to be able to dive into the Scylla. The only thing that really counters Scylla is the ability to run and pass the entire enemy team and shut her down. So far, they're only really going to have one opportunity to do it, maybe out of the soul lane or maybe out of the jungle. But if they only have one true diver, we saw what happened when Sam was the only one looking to dive last game. He got shut down on every attempt. So it's going to be on Rival to figure out how they're going to deal with it. Maybe they go for a more aggressive solo laner, something like a warrior. Osiris comes to mind at least. Something like that that can just dive into the backline, ignore this Erlang Shen, ignore this Ullr, because you really have to get to the heart of United's comp. And it seems like, at least by last game, that's going to be the Scylla.
I'm a bit surprised United banned away the Vamana. I was just thinking that long-duration CC is going to be really good up against this Olorun, right? Something like a Vamana, or even a Kuzumbo with the Watery Grave, or even the Baron Somdiol. Something that when you're inside that sanctified field, maybe like a large channel lurking in the waters, still gives you that option to sort of play aggressive and not get locked down so much. But what's your read? How strong do you feel like Olorun is right now, and do you think it's worth trying to find something specifically to deal with him?
I think Olorun is definitely hitting his stride, especially considering recent changes to items, making rings a little bit more appeasing. The lifesteal boots are going to be leveraged incredibly well by magical ADCs. The scaling is insane. And his damage output and transition to late game is a lot better than it once was. Olorun also bringing a certain degree of passive out-of-combat healing to his team. I think he's a very high-priority pick insofar as he's going to be able to pop off in the late game. He's almost like a magical ranged Kali in that regard. But he's also got something in a huge team fight ultimate. Sanctified Field essentially creates a no-play field anywhere on the map. It's fantastic on Siege, and it's really good on defense as well. I think Olorun's only weakness is his early game, and he's very easily abused by junglers.
Someone even potentially like a Kali, or maybe not even the junglers, an Ullr Erlang Shen type of dual lane could be enough pressure even potentially on their own. It kind of feels like that's the idea. United want to use those early game picks to get to the point where Scylla, Kali, and Yorm are really popping off in the late. Rival round their draft out, though, with the Bots to give them that big Fear No Evil ultimate. And really, both of these teams feel like comps that really want a team fight, but maybe Rival even more so here, Myth.
Rival is looking to scrap constantly. They've got plenty of healing in their draft. They've got Engage from the Sobek. They've got Engage from this Hunbots. A lot of them are going to scale incredibly well into the late game. Xball and Olorun come to mind. But eUnited are bringing scaling into the late game as well. They've got the Scylla that's only going to get better with time. They've got this Kali who's just going to become a literal chainsaw once she gets that chin size online. And they've got early game as well just to bully out this Olorun in the long lane, but I imagine it will be Olorun in the middle. It's going to be hard for Rival to make it to the late game, but I think if they do, they should be favored in any 5-on-5 fight.
Right? I mean, trying to fight into all those big-time teamfight ultimates could be a little too difficult for eUnited, but will they even make it to the late game? Let's find out in the decider, game number 3.
Here we go. Game number 3 between Rival and eUnited. Aggro, we've had a 43-minute game into a 47-minute game. Late game has been the name of the game, and still could be here in game number 3. Scream has the Kali. They kind of outline it there on the desk to end out picks and bans. Do you agree with some of that sentiment, though, where maybe there's equal scaling going into this late game?
Yeah, both teams are very strong come late game, no doubt. I mean, you've got great control from Team Rival. PBM was obviously a nightmare to deal with last time on the Yemoja. But the thing that really stands out to me is who's going to dive this Olorun effectively? I just don't know that eUnited have a great option in order to do that. That's my main concern. Kali has no CC immunity in the kit. That's really what you want whenever you want to step up and start trying to kill this Olorun come late game. Yes, she's knockback immune, so the 3 doesn't do as much work, but that's still risky to me.
Ow. Well, Scream in the early game is the answer to that question, and Beads out is a little extra CC by CaptainTwig. Another game, another early mid lane gank here by eUnited. Opens up the door, though, to a red buff invade by Sam for Soccer. Countered out, though, by a red buff invade by eUnited, so all else is equal there. And Hurriwind will be able to make his way over. CaptainTwig, no beads here. Genetics rotating through as well. Blinks aggressively underneath the tier 1 tower. Scream up, down, dead. Is CaptainTwig. Talk about first blood a minute and a half in.
So Twig watches Scream walk in and goes, okay, yep, knew he was going to come, so that's why I didn't step up. Hurriwind walks in, sure, yep, knew he was coming too, and Genetics didn't rotate back to duo. That was not something that he expected. Blink pin, no beads. Scream got those earlier on when Twig was posturing up to try and invade red. And that's an easy first blood for eUnited.
Genetics wants to keep the ball rolling here onto PBM, but enough healing from the Yemoja will maybe turn off the jets there for eUnited. Great start. It's not Hurriwind who gets the kill here, but Scream, that Kali that you hope to be able to slow down moving into the late game, has now got an early force bud here for eUnited. Sam for Soccer, I think that's a good line to follow as well, though. I think Sam has had a good set here for the most part today, but uncharacteristic in the sense that it's not the Sam ganking long lane a whole bunch, getting fed early and carrying the rest of the game. I'm not saying he can keep up that pace, because that's going to be difficult, but it hasn't been necessarily the Sam show through and through from the Rival that we're used to seeing.
No, I agree. I just feel, because I think that Sam has played like the best jungler in the league, if not the best player in the league so far this year. And so for him to have a set like this just feels quiet because he's not doing the things you kind of expect him to do, which is hard carry games if you can get him to that point. And now he's playing Batz, who took a nerf this patch coming in during the bonus balance. So now his ultimate's on a longer cooldown. He's dealing less damage off the passive. It's still a character that I think we'll see in the SPL. I mean, it's still an effective character, but
absolutely
certainly not that insane 1v1 potential. I think that with the old passive, he probably just outright out-trades Scream for a large portion of the game, even come late game. Now, without being able to use that ultimate as much, and the fact that he's doing less damage whenever he wants to get in there and scrap, means that I think that he'll be a lot less effective this time around.
fineokay is trying to scrap against Variety. Will snag the stun, but a World Serpent could be awaiting, despite how low that health bar may look. Not sure if Variety was ever in any real danger. You talk about bonus balance, buffs, nerfs, things like that we've seen. Ullr, a largely popular pick, usually first to be locked in, and this game is certainly no different. Did get some, mana cost changes, some damage reduction, maybe, or damage reduced, rather. Gotta use those words carefully. Doesn't do as much damage, maybe, on his first ability, but maybe still holds a similar sentiment with you, where absolutely still viable and can make a big impact on these games.
No doubt, but I think we are already seeing the impact of it. I mean, look at how low Snoopy is in the mana department. He's about half, and he's been sitting in that Totem of Coup buff on his tower basically all game. The fact that Variety has gotten all 3 coups so far. As expected in this matchup, Yorm just far better at getting coups than most other characters, certainly Sobek included, even with this Mage's Blessing that fineokay has picked up to try and help clear a little bit better, knowing that he's not under any duress of getting soloed by a Yorm. It's important to get these coups, so that pick actually ends up being pretty important here for eUnited. Without those, I think Snoopy already has to go back to base. If that's the case, then he might not have enough for his Transcendence, and that's going to be even more necessary than before because of that mana cost nerf.
Sanford looking for a gank here. He was, but Scream is also hanging by the side. Hey, you might get that 1v1 you asked for a little bit sooner rather than later, but will somewhat fizzle out as a rotation from a couple members of Team Rival is there from the middle lane as well. Genetics has to move his way back to safety. PBM, though, has pulled Hurriwind back in. Darkest of Nights will rain through from PandaCat, who's rotated over to this side as well. Genetics stays aggressive, though. That's an I'm a Monster that crushes down. Sanctified Field drapes over the fight, but it's right inside of that River's Rebuke. Genetic solo, and Sanford will take advantage. CaptainTwig, not much mana on his side, taking some good damage here from Hurriwind. Has to make his way away. Beads out, but that doesn't stop the damage. Scream will leap through for the second time this game. Hurriwind taken down by fineokay that is rotated in. And this is a sweeping fight for Team Rival. They pick up 3 and a double for Fino.
Yeah, but Scream dies without using that ultimate or the beads. I mean, he could have beads the pluck. Maybe he still dies or has to use that ultimate, but you got to use it. I think he tried to use it right at the very end, but just waited far too long and got killed for it. That fight, I think, should have been pretty Rival favored. Despite a suboptimal initiation, I mean, PBM is just too healthy in order to try and wombo him off of that Erlang taunt into the I'm a Monster. And last game, Genetics had the Sunder in that first item slot, or the first relic slot, not this Blink, and he never gets in the position to get that initiation without the Blink. But without the Sunder, you don't get to one-shot the Guardian this early on, even one like Yemoja. And I think that we saw the power of the Sanctified Field already. I mean, that really locked Genetics in for a long period of time. Variety was chasing out PBM. Maybe used one too many charges there. I mean, that fight was just kind of all over the place, it felt like, from eUnited, and they end up on the losing end of it. Sam gets a kill and 2 assists, and that's not what you want to see up against the Huntbats, even if he is nerfed.
Maybe it's a small moment, but Teleria boots for him, so the game impact becomes a little bit easier. Variety, one more stun received from fineokay, World Serpent, but a couple charges there will keep him safe. Scream rotating over deep behind Sanford and fineokay here. Could be a return gank, but will make his way over by the Fire Giant buff instead. So early presence here in the solo lane, maybe even considering a tower dive as fineokay and Sanford are going to get aggressed on. Scream over on the side. Fear No Evil connects onto Variety. No World Serpent to save his life, but that's a decent tremble to get fineokay and Sanford on the losing end of this trade. Genetics is here as well. The tower dive was there. Actually got Variety quite low, and both teams left at full strength.
It was really a sick bluff by Sam in the initial. When Variety got plucked, obviously he can't get tossed back, but you still get stunned and then dazed. Sam jumps in and didn't have the Fear No Evil cooldown, but Variety probably thought he did because of the most recent balance change. He doesn't have it in that moment. That makes Variety use the ultimate, and then that later enables the dive, but Variety's positioning in that moment was really, really smart because he just made sure that he wasn't going to be pushed out of the tower range. He made sure that no matter where Sam put that totem, he's still going into the tier 1 tower, which means they're going to take enough damage that if they kill him, Scream's going to be able to get at least one, and with Genetics rotating over, maybe both. So a good idea by Rival to give up that chase, but that was a fun little gank for both sides.
Yeah, I was interested to see when Scream was going to kind of rotate through on that. I think Genetics as well as PBM have done well rotating through this map, making their presence felt. Another run back here for PBM on this Yemoja. I don't think you classified the previous game as poor, despite a few picks onto PBM rather, maybe being a big difference maker in that one. But I think the Riptides have hit their mark. There's been some great engagements with the River's Rebuke, and especially now you look at the team fighting presence that Rival might have. River's Rebuke plus a Sanctified Field, you combine those two together, everything else becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's a lot of area you don't get to move in. and you're gonna be able to find some easy sanctified fields because you just put it right down Broadway in the middle of that ultimate. And normally we just go, oh, we'll walk out of Yemoja ult. Well, what happens if you're walking, through quicksand is what it feels like. So I think this composition has a chance to be really, really potent. I like the synergy between the Yemoja ult and the Discordia ult that Rival had last game quite a bit. You either do the exact same thing, just throw it right down the middle, and because that hitbox is so big, you're going to end up hitting somebody, or you can use it to obscure exactly where that apple is going at any given time. I think both those interactions were nice.
Be a lot of fun to watch how Rival make use of their ultimate. Sam for Soccer has made good use, rotating over into the mid lane as Hurriwind will be the recipient of that Fear No Evil. Genetics is going to be able to retreat from this one. The Sam, not necessarily that's been missing, but we wanted to see come out swinging here in game number 3. Some early ganks, some work out, some don't, but this one helps out fineokay snag a kill.
And that rotation over is just so much more impactful for Fine than Variety, who puts out some decent damage on the mid laner, but not anywhere near enough to kill him. Sanctified Field comes down. Without World Serpent, you can't dive it. And Rival get themselves an easy Gold Fury. And that was fineokay who set up that kill on Hurriwind as well, I assume, with the blink initiation onto Hurriwind, got his beads, then Sam's right in there with the Fear No Evil right after the fact. No surprise that Sam's looking good on the Hun Batz. I think right now in the SPL, I don't think there's a better Hun Batz player out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure many would disagree with you. I mean, stats-wise, he's near the top in most categories. Top 5 in the league in kills, and it shows. PBM, top 4 in the league as far as assists go, and that shows as well here. Only 1 so far out of 4 in this game. You can kind of get the vibe that Rival are playing with the lead here. Obvious, they have a 1-point-something-K gold lead, maybe 9,000, or 900, goodness, 9,011 minutes. That'd be a difference maker here for Rival. But they're playing from ahead, nonetheless, is the point we kind of digress back into. You've gotten some assists onto CaptainTwig. You've maybe stabilized down this mid lane and can resume the scale now on this Olorun after some early ganks to the mid.
And don't forget, the first 2 games have been pretty well started off by eUnited. eUnited has really gotten the better end of the early game a lot of the time. So this is the first time that Rival does have a tangible lead at this point in the game. It's not a big one by any stretch, but it's better than playing from behind at this point. And again, it's really centered around this solo lane. fineokay has been really, really impactful this set. Not to say the Variety hasn't. The Baron was obviously critical in what eUnited was doing last game, but I feel like Fine has just had a really big impact earlier on in these games. His rotations have been really, really critical here for Rival. He's already got his Mystical Mail. He's got Blink Thorns. I don't know how you hit him at this point. This Kali's going to have a tough time sticking to you because of all the movement speed that you have. Smart.
Hurriwind, he catches a few ultimates there and say bye-bye to the Scylla for the 3rd time this game. Hurriwind has died 3 out of the 5 kills that Team Rival has found. And that's exactly, I think, what we've expected to see. Not only River's Rebuke into a Sanctified Field works quite well with the Fear No Evil, I think Rival have learned well from what happened last game. Let's not let Hurriwind jump off to a massive start here. CaptainTwig will obviously be prioritized. Let's try to counter out some of that. Let's jump on Hurriwind time and time again. And it's paid off for Rival big time 13 minutes in.
And Mike finds another Riptide, just tosses it out there and pulls back Hurriwind. And the reaction time from Sam to blink in and Fear No Evil him. Hurriwind has beads now, but didn't in the midst of that play. And Hurriwind has not, I mean, that is not a long CC for Riptide. So for Sam to be able to get there that quickly is good communication by Rival and good trust. And then reaction time on top of that. Maybe Hurry could have ulted and gotten out a little bit, but then River's Rebuke was there, so he's dead no matter what he does. If he ults for CC immunity, he dies to River's Rebuke. If he tries to 3 over the wall to not get locked in by that wall, he dies with a CC chain. Just well played by Rival in the 3v3.
And immediately, sort of during that point, my eyes scanning the map, seeing where rotations are. Obviously, fineokay, you pointed out, Thorns Blink has Relic Dagger, get those off cooldown a little bit more. My mind then kind of goes to, how does that affect rotation potential? Obviously, Variety with the TP, largely using it to get back to lane. But remember, I think, back to game 1, where fineokay on this solo Beck felt just fine proxying the wave between the Tier 1, Tier 2 tower, and that's what he just did now. It didn't have a massive impact necessarily on the game. But rotations are easier when you, I guess, literally have no wave to farm, and you can make your impact elsewhere on the map a little bit sooner. Seems to work out for him here. He's already on a killing spree, level 15. Well, we'll have to join this fight a little bit later. I'm a monster down onto PBM. Won't be enough to finish him off. Sam4Soccer into the wall, into the River's Rebuke, into the Sanctified Field. Why don't we just pile on to Genetics? That's a good team fight play there as CaptainTwig notches his first.
And you see the power of the Yemoja again. Rear its head. Blink, double stun by Scream. He's looking for Twig. Already popped that ultimate just for the damage, but he's just a little bit short. Twig survives just long enough. Variety does get him, but no reset for Scream.
Semblance of revenge there thanks to Variety, and the World Serpent will maybe disengage out on this fight. So Scream, now with his second in this game on this Kali. fineokay has 3 members of eUnited on the sprint towards him. This Sobek, so difficult to lock down. Doesn't have the blink, has the dash. It did plenty tanky enough, only with a few items there as well. So Rival go out searching for a fight. And their game plan maybe in this game aggro has become clear early on. Obviously in bigger team fights you want more people trapped in those ultimates, but up to this point, let's pile all of our ults onto one guy and extend this lead through picks.
But these ultimates, at least for CaptainTwig in particular, that's a long cooldown. No CDR for him in the build either. And so you have to be pretty wary about using that for just one person. Scream tries to get in there and punish him for doing so, but Twig's Aegis was solid in that moment in order to keep him up and alive. Scream pretty close on the DPS charts. Clearly has been practicing this Kali in order to understand exactly how much damage he's going to need in that moment. Instead of saving destruction for the very end, use it a little bit too early. Maybe if he just uses it later on, he does. You get just longer periods of time to auto attack, which is where the bulk of your damage is coming from. Tries to use it to DPS really early, and was almost right, but I don't know if that's really ever worth your time.
Hey, here's a 1v1. Sam4Soccer will drop down the Fear No Evil. Scream not baited into using the ultimate there. That's going to be such a fun interaction. Granted, you're not going to get to see the junglers maybe take these 1v1s alone outside of team fighting all that often. But kind of in a zoomed out picture, that's going to be so important. Which jungler can maybe outduel the other? Which one has more survivability? Right now, Scream is maybe fighting with a little bit of swagger. He'll stun down onto CaptainTwig, but a River's Rebuke from PBM, who's right back into this middle lane, will do a good job of separating this fight. fineokay has found the backline and will wait for Scream's ultimate to time out. Luckily for Scream, though, that buys him enough time to leap away. CaptainTwig within execute range, but certainly not within the awaiting arms of Scream just yet. fineokay, half HP, PBM is as well. The dash beneath the tier 1 tower will disengage this fight finally. Every ultimate in the game used. Somehow no kills on the board.
Wonder if that's really worth it for Scream, though, because, I mean, you're using your destruction in order to trade out for that River's Rebuke. And River's Rebuke is obviously great, but kind of need that Kali ult a lot of the time.
You need Genetics a lot of the time. You won't have him here. CaptainTwig turns it around onto Scream, who did not have the Kali ult. Big difference maker on that one, Agro. You pointed it out, comes to fruition. CaptainTwig snags the second kill of the game. Variety back beneath the tier 1 tower. Use TP, or teleport rather, to get back in here. Variety takes a seat. fineokay gets the kill, and tier 2 tower will end up crumbling.
And what is eUnited going to get in order to even this out? I mean, they get the Gold Fury, sure, but Snoopy's still pushing on that left-hand side. Hurriwind is looking for a little bit of extra farm, or maybe to try and sneak up on Rival as they've pulled fire.
It's Hurriwind who's sneaking close by. PBM with this fight separating River's Rebuke as FG down to 25 HP. It's either a Miracle Steal or nothing, and nobody from eUnited is within range. Hurriwind actually has to use I'm a Monster defensively here. Sam4Soccer won't get the kill. But FG has fallen in the meantime. This is the clinical team Rival that we have seen over the past few weeks. Remember Rival coming in off of a loss 2-1 to SSG last week. So maybe knocking off some of the rust and getting back to their previous form.
This is really impressive because you know who feels like has really driven this lead? Of course it's Sam. I mean, he's 2-0-7. fineokay, the usual suspects as well as the carries. But Twig makes the play that breaks this whole thing wide open. His 1v1 up against Scream ends up blowing this game open for Rival, and that's huge, even with his Relic Dagger pickup, which honestly, I don't hate. I mean, he kind of needs some defense in order to end up standing up against the Kali. It's movement speed, it's CDR. You want your relics up more often because of stuff like this.
Hey, Aegis is used and will be back a little bit quicker. Sanctified Field to separate things from Variety. Sanford Soccer is here to help as well. Can you sidestep a couple more and won't have to as Variety is disengaged from this fight? I think you got to give props to eUnited, though, from what we've seen here. Team Rival, 5 members with Fire Giant on. eUnited still looking for some of these engagements under the Tier 1 tower, but now you've burnt, granted only a couple of ultimates, but ultimates nonetheless, trying to engage upon CaptainTwig. You've left mid lane undefeated, likely to be a couple of towers here knocked down. The thought process was there maybe from eUnited. They end up losing a couple towers for it.
And Twig's beads are coming up pretty soon. Only 10 seconds till those are up. Just got to watch out for Hurriwind's ult until then.
PBM, River's Rebuke opening this fight for Team Rival. Scream has leapt in, looking for now 2 kills, but turned around by Sanford Soccer. The ultimate times out with CaptainTwig. Awaiting on the other end. Hurriwind has tried to disengage here, but there's still 4 members of Team Rival within range. Look out for Snoopy. He's pushing down this right side Phoenix in the meantime, so eUnited may be okay with taking this 3 versus 4 in the mid lane. Sanford Soccer will not be in time. So a trade out there, couple kills, but for right side Phoenix, eUnited, maybe a small lead.
Sam, I think, is sniffing this play from Snoopy, but like the idea, knowing Sam doesn't have any beads up, and Snoopy's actually going to try and take this 1v1. He doesn't have a lot of time. Here comes Rival.
There's no fear, no evil, though, and Darkest of Nights will swing over as well. Snoopy praying for some shots to connect, but none will. Rival collapses. Snoopy got the Phoenix, was looking for a kill, but pays ultimately with his life. 50 seconds remaining on his death timer. Fire minions pouring down the short lane into Rival's side of the map. Outside of a pick, though, aggro, Rival haven't been able to do all that much with this FG just yet.
I mean, they're only up 4K, but man, does it feel like more than that. I mean, they just have all this momentum. I don't know the last time eUnited really won an engagement, but they farmed well enough. Snoopy has a really good split push on that right-hand side, which is something that he's been doing all year. He's been doing a lot of split pushing, and I think that it helps out eUnited quite a bit there. But then to go for the 1v1 after the fact and not get it, if he gets that kill, it's not so bad, but now Rival's able to start knocking on your door when you're still not respawned. He's coming up soon, but not here at the very outset of the fight.
And Rival want to fight now. Sanctified Fields proves that. And PolarBearMike will separate the fight a little bit further with the River's Rebuke. Variety roaring through the back line of this fight. A couple sent running thanks to Sanford Soccer. That's a killing spree in the mid lane for CaptainTwig as fineokay continues his onslaught in the back line. Variety will take a tumble. CaptainTwig has a couple in this fight, and Rival, they might see the light at the end of the tunnel. Could be the mid lane Phoenix for the take.
This could be the game. They have so much sustain right now. They just have to dodge Hurriwind's damage, but no ultimate for him, no beads either. Consider the damage dodged, at least for a little bit, because Panda's going to put him down from a distance with those extended autos.
This might just be the game, and I think it will be aggro. Titan down to half HP. Only 2 members left for eUnited. PandaCat has to run away, but the rest of Rival will get it done. Phoenix down, Titan down, Rival on top. Week 1 finally by the wayside. The storyline for so long has been, well, Rival lost to eUnited. How are they going to be looking forward? They finally gotten that monkey off their back. Take this one 2-1.
Yeah, the monkey has gone off their back and into Sanford Soccer's hands because my man 2-0-12 on that monkey. Absolutely controlled the entirety of every team fight, it felt like, for Rival. Twig was in the right position, won his 1v1 when he needed to on that right-hand side. Feels like eUnited just never really got that ball rolling particularly well. Scream didn't really find great engagements on that Kali. It didn't feel like he was super comfortable on that pick. Snoopy wasn't bringing that pressure that you really need out of that Ullr. And Fine was just more impactful on the Sobek than Variety was on the Jorm.
Well, it's Rival that we've seen over the last few weeks save their loss to SSG in a 23-minute Game 3. We'll close out our first SPL set of the day. That was a long one. We still got another set coming up for you right after this. We'll go back to Finch, though, to break down set number 1.
That's right, Dave. We truly are only just getting started here with the SPL. Though I suppose Rival have just finished taking care of business here up against eUnited. Finch and Mifflin here to break it down a bit and get y'all ready for that second set, as Dave alluded to. And Myth, I mean, what was the big difference maker here? Those first two games, 46 minutes, 43 minutes, but this one, it felt like it was over in a flash, and Rival were in control the whole time. How did they get off to such a good lead?
Rival get off to their signature quick start off some team fights around the Gold Fury. I mean, I saw it in the chat. They were calling it, is this SPL Arena? Because there was tons of fighting in the pre-10-minute stage. From there, Rival really just run with it. United weren't able to find anything in return anywhere. Sam completely controls the pace of the game and the map, as Aggro pointed out at the tail end of that cast there. 2-0-12. It might not be the most impressive-looking KD, but KDA, that's pretty gnarly. fineokay also gets a ton of early rotations out of lane to help facilitate team fights around Goldfury and Pyromancer. Rival just do what they do best, win the early game and then transition it into a literal dub.
Yeah, PandaCat top damage there throughout everything, and Twig having the big play early on in that game up against Screammmmm. That felt like one of the turning point matches here in this one for Team Rival. But you did start to see towards the end there that eUnited were still trying to find some ways back in, right? Snoopy makes that split push over in right and at least get the Phoenix, but he ends up dying on the backside of it. Screammmmm had some decent engages on the Kali as well, but Rival weren't really buckling this time around. Sam was really hitting big ultimates, well placed, even for Peel sometimes. He had a couple moments where they were perfectly placed to get his teammates out of trouble. When Rival are clicking like this on all cylinders, when everyone is turning in game-winning type plays, then this is when they look like that best team in the league.
So far, we've watched one Sam clip, one fineokay clip, and it's always, what's the constant factor in it? Sam for soccer, always dropping ultimates somewhere in there. You always hear the bongo drums of Fear No Evil, and that's because he was constantly in every single one of the fights. He was just completely controlling the pace of the game. They weren't willing to fight without Sam, and they were right not to do so because it was a clean dub every single time. Olorun completely controlled the pace of the match as well with his ultimates, able to choose fights very well, but man, Sam gets MVP for me.
Yeah, and he earned it, man. He showed why the Batz is constantly considered a top-tier pick. And it is starting to make me wonder if maybe Ullr getting a bit overvalued in some of these matches. If he's not being played to bully his lane and control that side of the map, then they're kind of just picking a Hunter super high up over everyone else who doesn't have any CC immunity or anything in his kit. I don't know. What's your read on how strong Ullr is right now?
If you're not going to pick a support that's able to fight with you, if you want to play something more passive like Yemoja, or you want to play something that's more late game centric, you don't need Ullr. If you're going to pick Ullr, you might as well throw him into the middle lane. You need to really dominate the early game, create pressure, force someone to rotate over to you, be a lightning rod for your team. If you're playing long lane Ullr, the jungler should be forced into camping your lane, as bad as that feels for the hunter. But that's Ullr at peak capacity. I really think Snoopy would have been more well-served by an Apollo pick since all the split pushing we saw, or even an On-Her pick so that he could peel out his team with Pillar. Right there, Ullr just really did look like any other hunter.
Well, for now, Rivals stand alone at the top of the standings, 6-2, having played one more game than everyone that's not eUnited. But currently, they're up there. Radiance will have their chance, though, to join them atop the mountain, as I believe they'll be playing up against the Knights a little bit later on in the day. But you can tell, even with this one win for Rival, it is still a clump. eUnited not that far back in the win column from where Team Rival are at right now. It just goes to show some of that parity, even between the bottom end and the top end of the league here at this point, Mifflin. I don't see any reason why that's going to start slowing down now. I don't know if Rival are exactly positioned to really pull away. Remember, they struggled a bit up against Space Station in that most recent set for their most recent loss up until this win here as well. So I expect this to stay as consistent as we're currently seeing.
The league is so competitive this year, barring maybe one team. It's so hard to make predictions. I'm almost willing to call Hi-Rez for a stimulus package of viewer points, as I've been costed so many points on my votes. And that just goes to show the league is stacked. Every single player in here is able to play at the highest level. Right now, it's not truly mechanics that's differentiating the teams like it was in seasons past. It's the ability to play as a cohesive unit. It's the ability to create a style that you want to play around. When you think of objective play, you think of eUnited. When you think of late-game team fight, you think of Sanguine. When you think of just clean early-game play, you think of Rival. They all have these distinct styles, and I think it's really matchup-based, and that's why it's so hard to choose like a tier list. You can't just say one team's straight up better than the other. It's kind of like Pokemon with the like matchup knowledge and stuff like that.
Right, or who's able to maybe play that particular week a little bit better, or as you said, maybe who can get their particular style to work over another. I agree with you in terms of the parity discussion there, Mifflin. But we have our chance to hear a little bit about Rival and some of their success. Coach Slaney is standing by with Dolson for the interview.
As Finch points out, Slaney here with me to talk about the Rival win over eUnited. Now, I want to start off, Slaney. I mean, obviously, brought about by some of us here, the storyline surrounding you guys has been, well, they lost to eUnited, but recently they've been doing a lot of winning. With that being said, was there maybe a little extra in this game to finally kind of dispel that week 1 tumble up against eUnited?
For sure. I mean, this is the 3rd time that we've lost to Snoopy in the last year. This is we've lost to them every time.
Right.
Last year it was Armada and then LG and then the first week. So it feels good to finally break the Snoopy curse.
Yeah, it's great for you guys and turn around what was a loss last week against SSG, get back to your winning ways. I do want to kind of dive in, though, to eUnited. One of the things that we heard Hurriwind kind of bring up pre-game was they wanted to maybe have a focus more on improved team fighting. Did you get a sense of that being improved by them? Maybe a reason some of the first 2 games maybe were dragged out a little bit longer?
I'm not entirely sure. I think the games kind of got dragged out because we played a bit sloppy in the early game, people dying when they shouldn't, or getting picked. I actually think that was our strong suit, and I think a lot of teams undervalue how good of a team fight we have right now in the late game. I think we actually punish them really hard. I remember in the games we were saying how it doesn't matter how the early games go, we can just beat them in the late game. So I would say they probably still have a lot of work to go with their team fights.
Fair enough, and I think kind of to springboard off of that, Game 3, half the length of the other 2 games we had in this set. Do you think that game number 3 was more a return to the clean, nice knitted up Rival that we've seen over the past previous weeks?
Yeah, for sure. I think we definitely played a lot cleaner. I mean, we still got picked a couple times, but I think we played way cleaner, and I think we also show that we're pretty good at adapting as sets go. Usually when we go to these longer sets, I think we're showing that we know how to adapt our drafts and play in game. So I think that had a big factor as well.
Well, Slaney, thanks for talking to me. Big win for you guys today to get back to the winning ways. We'll see you Sunday, I believe, up against the Renegades. So take some rest. Yep. We'll see you then, and thanks for chatting.
Cool. Thank you.